Chapter 1294. The Only Hope? Luli was confused. Why didn't Patriarch Gu do it himself? Elder Gu's battle prowess was not bad, and he should have reached the level of the God World's Supreme Elder. Moreover, he had the Thunderbringer. If he threw a few Thunderbringers at Cho Qianjun, even if he had 9 lives, he would still die, right? Luli looked at Patriarch Gu in surprise. Patriarch Gu forced a smile and said, "They planted a kind of bewitching insect on me. It is almost incurable. As soon as I leave the Valley of Relics, they will notice. My every move will be tracked. That's why I have no way of getting close to Cho Qianjun. Even if I went to look for an assassin, they would immediately follow me. If I offered double the price, they would offer double or even 10 times the price. Moreover, with the Spacetime Palace's prestige." Luli understood now. It seemed that Patriarch Gu's son, daughter-in-law, and granddaughter did die in the hands of Cho Qianjun. Otherwise, Cho Qianjun wouldn't have used such means to stalk Patriarch Gu. Imagine, one side was the higher-ups of the Spacetime Office, while the other side was merely an elder of a faction under the Craftsman's sect. The Craftsman's sect probably knew that Cho Qianjun was indeed a murderer, but they would not stand up for Elder Gu. Luli felt sorry for Patriarch Gu, but he could not say yes rashly. Putting aside the fact that he didn't have the ability to do so, even if he killed Cho Qianjun, would he be able to escape the pursuit of the Earth Emanations Palace and the Spacetime Manor? The answer was no. Wasn't the Spacetime Manor ranked first among the 4 strongest powers in the divine world? After offending the Spacetime Manor, even if he fled to the ends of the earth, he would still die. Moreover, the Lu clan would also be exterminated. Spacetime Office was in charge of time and space. It was a piece of cake for them to go to the Earth Imperial Universe. Luli pursed his lips and said, "Patriarch, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I really can't. Furthermore, I have a family in the mortal world. If anything happens, my entire family will die. I don't want you to attack immediately." Patriarch Gu looked at Luli solemnly and said, "I don't have to do it for sure. I just want you to take an almighty blood oath that you will avenge me when there is a chance and the time is right. Also, you must not be exposed. If you can agree to my conditions, I will accept you as my disciple and teach you everything I know. I will even teach you the method to refine the heavenly thunder attraction. Moreover, I will do my best to help you improve your strength, and also help you withstand all the pressure from High Heaven Pavilion. How about it?" Looking into Patriarch Gu's hopeful eyes, Luli was overwhelmed with shock. The terms offered by Patriarch Gu were so generous that it was hard for Luli to say no. As long as he agreed to Elder Gu's request, he would have nothing to worry about in the future. He would be able to thrive in the Chamber of Relic. Moreover, he did not need to take any risk. He only needed to make a promise that he would help him kill Cho Qianjun under the condition that he was absolutely confident that he would not implicate himself. Most people would not be able to refuse such a condition, right? Luli still didn't say yes rashly. He asked, "Patriarch, why do you trust me so much? There must be a lot of talented disciples in the Chamber of Artifacts, right? Why didn't you find one to nurture before?" "None of them can do it," Elder Gu said with certainty. "The person I'm looking for must have great combat strength and exceptional talent. Moreover, he must have talent in artifact forging and the courage to kill." "Do you think the Artifact Pavilion has such a person? Who in the Chamber of Artifacts dared to kill Cho Qianjun? Also, we cannot attract the attention of the Earth Emanations Palace." Luli said nothing. Long Yunhai and the others seemed to be talented, but they did not have much practical experience. Lady Dan, on the other hand, did not have any. On second thought, Luli did seem to meet all of Patriarch Gu's requirements. He remembered that when Patriarch Gu came to the Brown Blood Mountain, he saw the pupilless monkey's broken arm. Patriarch Gu was surprised and confused. Back then, Patriarch Gu must have been interested. Later, Patriarch Gu took a drop of Lu Li's blood to investigate him. Right. On this thought, Lu Li asked, Patriarch, how did you find out about me? I'm confident that a lot of things are secrets, and too few people know about it. Don't you know there is a cabinet of mystery among the 4 legendary forces? Patriarch Gu asked in surprise. Lu Li nodded in confusion and said, I know. Doesn't the cabinet of mystery release the list? You have underestimated cabinet of mystery. Patriarch Gu shook his head. Cabinet of mystery has the word mystery in its name. Naturally, they can see through some mysteries. I have spent tens of millions of divine sources to carry your blood. They can find out what happened to you in the past based on the spiritual imprint in your blood. But don't worry. Cabinet of Mystery will keep this confidential. They can only find out what happened in the past 10 years, not the memories before that. That is impressive. Lu Li exclaimed to himself. Cabinet of Mystery had such means? Lu Li thought about it and nodded. Patriarch, I can promise you that as long as I have the ability and the time is right, I will help you kill Cho Qianjun. I can take an almighty oath as well. Okay. Elder Gu's face was filled with excitement. He nodded heavily and said, That's all I need. Swear an over-God blood oath. I'll immediately accept you as my direct disciple and help you increase your battle prowess. No. Lu Li waved his hand and shook his head with determination. Patriarch, you cannot take me in as your protégé. You should take Qian Huanhan as your protégé. Why? Patriarch Gu frowned. He could not figure it out. A moment later, his eyes glowed. You want to do something under the table? Yes. Lu Li nodded. I must keep a low profile. Otherwise, if the Palace of Evil Spirit notices, I will end up like Patriarch Gu even if I can become a super mighty warrior. I will not have the chance to meet Cho Qianjun. Therefore, I must cultivate in secret and keep a low profile. When I have the chance to approach Cho Qianjun, I will kill him in one move. Yes. Patriarch Gu's face was red. He paced up and down in the hall. All of a sudden, he remembered something and asked, I heard that you have learned the Slayer's move? You know about this? Lu Li was speechless. Now that he was exposed, he had to nod. Yes. By chance, I learned the Slayer's move. But I have not made any progress since I came to the divinity. Take it easy. You are still young. Elder Gu was getting more and more excited. The Slayer's intent is one of the divine world's 10 great intent. As long as you focus on cultivating it, there will come a day when you become the second Slayer, a supreme being of the divine world. One day, you will become one of the patriarchs of the craftsman's sect. Even if you kill Cho Qianjun in public, the space-time office will not trouble you. Supreme warrior in the divinity. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He was excited. One day, he would be able to travel across the divinity and all his problems would be solved. All right, swear the chief god's blood oath. Patriarch Gu waved his hand. Lu Li swore solemnly. Patriarch Gu sat down on the main seat with a straight face. Looking at Lu Li with dignity, he said, Lu Li, kneel and kowtow 3 times. Then, you will be my private student. I will teach you everything I have learned. Lu Li did not hesitate. Patriarch Gu was a strange man, but at the end of the day, he was a poor old man. When Lu Li became Patriarch Gu's private student, Patriarch Gu would treat Lu Li as his own son and try his best to help Lu Li improve his abilities and learn to forge artifacts. Lu Li knelt and kowtowed solemnly. He did not have the habit of kneeling, but he should kneel to heaven, earth, his parents and teachers. Greetings, Master. Chapter 1295. Lu Li did not want to make it public. He had a discussion with Patriarch Gu. Patriarch Gu decided to accept Qian Huanhan as his protégé publicly, but Lu Li would remain as a registered protégé. There were many advantages to this arrangement. First of all, Luli would not attract too much attention. People would focus on Qian Huanhan, which would make it easier for Luli to do whatever he wanted. Otherwise, Palace of Evil Spirit would notice Luli and he would be followed wherever he went. He would have no chance to get close to Chou Qianjun, let alone find a chance to kill Chou Qianjun. Second, Patriarch Gu would teach Luli about forging artifacts. Luli had the collection of books from Tianlingzi. Unless Luli was an idiot, he would be much better at forging artifacts. Forging artifacts would consume a lot of materials, right? Luli would have to hand in the relics he made. He could not hide them all the time. That would arouse the suspicion of the Chamber of Relics. Therefore, someone had to cover for Luli, and that person was Qian Huanhan. Now that Qian Huanhan was Patriarch Gu's protégé, it would be more convenient for Luli. Of course, Luli wanted to help Qian Huanhan as well. As a protégé, Patriarch Gu would teach Qian Huanhan how to forge artifacts, which was a good thing for Qian Huanhan. Luli had too many enemies, including God of Wings, Yen Tiangang, Cabinet of Cloud, and Lady Dan, Long Yunhai. Therefore, Luli must keep a low profile and let the world forget about him. He had to study forging artifacts and improve his abilities. When he was strong enough, nobody would be able to do anything to him. After Patriarch Gu accepted Luli as his protégé, he became friendlier to Luli. He thought about it and said, "You already have a supreme relic armor. I will not give you another one. What kind of weapons are you used to?" Luli was surprised. Then, he said in embarrassment, "Master, I don't think that is necessary. I have a weapon. You are a man. Why are you being so hesitant?" Elder Gu's face darkened. "I don't have anything else, but do I lack God artifacts? I am an expert craftsman. This is my gift to you. Tell me, what kind of weapon do you like to use?" Luli said, "Saber, the best saber." "Yes." Elder Gu's ring lit up and a domineering silver long saber appeared in his hand. The saber was 1 zhang long and narrow, growing in size from the hilt to the tip. Beautiful patterns could be seen on the surface of the saber, and tens of divine dragons could be vaguely seen swimming within. Without even testing it, one could tell that this saber was extraordinary. Elder Gu caressed the saber fondly and said, "This is a supreme divine artifact that I refined 3,000 years ago. It's called Demon Slayer, and it's my masterpiece. I've never been willing to sell it, but I'll give it to you today." This saber could increase one's battle prowess by 50%, and there was a glass dragon sealed within it that could release cold air. When attacking an enemy, the cold air would seep in and freeze the enemy. Even if you can't freeze them, the enemy's speed will be greatly reduced. Today, I will bestow it to you. I hope you won't disgrace it. Luli took over the saber solemnly. Then he bowed and said with determination, "Master, don't worry. I will not bring disgrace to the Demon Slayer. In the future, I will use it to cut off Chou Qianjuan's head and avenge my brothers." "Alright. Good. Patriarch Gu smiled. There were tears in his eyes as if he could see the day when Luli killed Chou Qianjun. A moment later, Patriarch Gu took out 5 oval balls and gave them to Luli. "This is a unique artifact that I made, Lightning Trigger. These 5 are for you to protect yourself. Lightning Trigger is very powerful. Even super mighty warriors in the divinity will be blasted to death if they don't dodge. So, unless absolutely necessary, you must not use it, let alone on disciples of the Chamber of Relics." Luli took it over and nodded. Patriarch Gu remembered the test and said, "Just now I asked you to kill Ruodan to test you. Ruodan is the chief's granddaughter and she is a rare talent in forging artifacts in the Chamber of Relics. As a matter of fact, she is not a bad person. She is just a spoiled child. You must tolerate her. Chief has done me a great favor. You must not get into conflict with Ruodan, and you must not lay a finger on her. Do you understand?" Chief's granddaughter. Luli understood now. No wonder Lady Dan was so bossy. Not only was she the chief's granddaughter, but she was also a genius in forging artifacts. Everyone in the Chamber of Relics treated her as a treasure. Naturally, she would be spoiled and become arrogant. Luli remembered Long Yunhai and asked, "Master, what is the background of Brother Yunhai and Brother Yunshan?" "That is the grandson of Long Xueshao, the patriarch of the Chamber of Relics. Patriarch Long is the most powerful warrior in the Chamber of Relics and a master craftsman. He ranks over 300 on the list. He is likely to become a supreme warrior in the divinity." Patriarch Gu explained and then asked, "Do you have any conflicts with them? If there is, I'll help you pass on a message and ask them not to cause you trouble." "You don't have to go out of your way to do that." Lu Li shook his head. "Master, from now on, just treat me as a registered disciple. Otherwise, I will attract the attention of some people in the Chamber of Relic. It will be troublesome if the news gets out." "Yes, yes." Patriarch Gu thought about it and said, "How about this? Later, I will organize an apprenticeship ceremony and invite some patriarchs over to take that fool, Qian Huan, as a private student. In the future, with him as your shield, nobody will trouble you." "Master, you are so wise." Lu Li let out a sigh of relief. Patriarch Gu was finally enlightened. Lu Li's original intention was to put Qian Huanhan on the pedestal. With Qian Huanhan's protection, nobody would trouble Lu Li. Lu Li could cultivate and forge artifacts in a low-key manner and take his time. Time is of the essence. I will go and talk to Qian Huanhan now. Patriarch Gu was a resolute man. He took out some books and handed them to Lu Li. "These are some of my understanding of forging artifacts over the years. Take a good look at them. Later, I will give you detailed instructions on how to forge artifacts. Also, I cannot help you much with cultivation. I have been cultivating for so many years, and I am only a mighty warrior in the divinity. I do not have much talent in cultivation. But I can tell you one thing. Forging artifacts and cultivation are interconnected. Almost all the craftsmen in the Chamber of Relics and Craftsmen's sect can become mighty warriors in the divinity." "I understand, Master." Lu Li nodded. As a matter of fact, he had noticed this a long time ago. Inhibition formations and inhibition formations were helpful to cultivation. Patriarch Gu's words had proved this point. Patriarch Gu nodded and teleported Lu Li out. When Lu Li returned to his room, Patriarch Gu told Qian Huanhan to come over. Qian Huanhan walked to the backyard, trembling. This time, he had learned his lesson. He did not look around. He bowed to Patriarch Gu and said, "Patriarch, did you ask for me?" Patriarch Gu did not look up. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, he asked, "Qian Huanhan, have you been secretly learning how to forge artifacts?" Qian Huanhan was taken aback. He stammered, "Patriarch, I did not. No. I. Patriarch Gu pulled a long face. He slapped Qian Huanhan and said angrily, "In 3 days, I will gather all the patriarchs and accept you as my protege. Be prepared. If something goes wrong, I will slap you to death. Do you understand?" "What?" Qian Huanhan blinked in confusion. He thought he had heard it wrong. It took him a while to come back to his senses. His eyes were filled with fear. He said, trembling, "Patriarch, don't do this. What did I do wrong? Tell me and I will change. I am scared." Bang. Chapter 1296. 3 days later, Patriarch Gu called many patriarchs over and held an apprenticeship ceremony in the main hall. Lady Dan, Long Yunhai, and other core disciples came to watch. Soon, the news spread. The Valley of Relics was stirred. Patriarchs did not accept apprentices easily. Most of the patriarchs were skilled craftsmen, and they were careful when accepting apprentices. There were over 10,000 disciples in the Chamber of Relics, but only over 100 core disciples. Half of them were accepted by the patriarch. Qian Huanhan was accepted as a core disciple by Patriarch Gu. He was promoted from a registered disciple to a core disciple. His status was higher than many core disciples. Patriarch Gu was a master craftsman who was very close to becoming a master craftsman. Most importantly, Patriarch Gu was the only one in the entire Chamber of Relics who knew about Thunder Trigger. Thunder Trigger was a weapon of mass destruction and one of the treasures of the Chamber of Relics. Imagine, if there was an invasion, the Chamber of Relics could take out thousands of Thunder Triggers and blast them. Even 10 super mighty warriors from the divinity would be blasted to smithereens. Because of Thunder Trigger, Patriarch Gu had a special status in the Chamber of Relics. Apart from the chief and the 3 main patriarchs, he was the most powerful one. As Patriarch Gu's core disciple, Qian Huanhan's status was elevated. He was the only disciple that could learn how to make Thunder Trigger. The Chamber of Relics would value him highly. From now on, he could do whatever he wanted in the Chamber of Relics. Outside the Chamber of Relics, he would be respected. Even the core disciples of the 72 sects would show him respect. In other words, Qian Huanhan had a meteoric rise. From a registered disciple, he had become a highly sought-after disciple in the Chamber of Relics. Many disciples had stayed in the Chamber of Relics for 1,000 years and yet, they were still average disciples. Qian Huanhan was confused. The past few days felt surreal. It was as if he was in a dream. Occasionally, he would sit down and smile. Even during today's apprenticeship ceremony, he was still a little absent-minded. Elder Gu almost couldn't help but want to give him a few slaps to wake him up. Qian Huanhan was wearing a new robe today. His hair was combed neatly. His cheeks were glowing. He looked very glamorous. On the other hand, Luli was in a worse state. He was wearing an old cyan robe. He stood in a corner and served tea to the guests. He was so busy that he looked more like a servant. This time there were some female disciples. They were the daughters or granddaughters of patriarchs and hall masters. They looked at Qian Huanhan with passion. Qian Huanhan had gone from being worthless to being popular. The main reason was that he could learn Elder Gu's Thunderbringer. Based on this, Qian Huanhan had already become an influential figure in the Chamber of Relics. It was almost certain that he would become an elder of the Chamber of Relics in the future. Long Yunhai and the others must be jealous of Qian Huanhan, but they pretended to be very friendly. They treated Qian Huanhan much better, as if they were blood brothers. Miss Dan's attitude was still the same. It was obvious that she was just here to join in the fun. She greeted Qian Huanhan coldly and then ignored him. On the contrary, she was very interested in Luli. She found a chance to walk over to Luli and said with a smile, "Luli, are you upset? Are you very disappointed?" Gu and said Qian, and is and are is. The way I see it, a person's character is very important. People like you will be at the bottom. You will struggle and look up to others for the rest of your life. Clearly, Lady Dan could tell that Luli was still angry. She came over to taunt him. Luli was laughing to himself, but he put on a bitter face and said, "Sister Dan, you are right. I will listen to you from now on. I will be low-key and do my work honestly. I will work hard on forging artifacts and learn more from you." Lady Dan was bored by Luli's words. She stuck out her chest and said, "That's right. Work hard and perform well. Maybe in hundreds or thousands of years, Patriarch Gu or some other patriarchs will be kind enough to accept you as their protégé." Luli cupped his fists and said politely, "Thank you for your advice. I will never forget it." Lady Dan walked away with her head held high like a proud peacock. The ceremony began in the hall. Right at that moment, someone announced, "Chief is here." Patriarch Gu and the other patriarchs put on solemn expressions. They stood up and walked out. Long Yunhai and the others followed them. Qian Huanhan was also excited. Chief of Chamber of Relics. Luli was curious. Chief of Chamber of Relics was a master craftsman and a super mighty warrior in the divinity. He was well known in southern divinity and was one of the most influential figures. A group of people followed them out. Luli took a peek and saw a silver-haired old man walking in with a group of patriarchs. This old man was hale and hearty. He was on the thin side and not tall. His eyes were especially memorable. His eyes were bright and deep like the sea, as if they contained a whole world. Ha ha ha, Shanha is recruiting a protege. How can I not be here? The pavilion master laughed heartily as he chatted with a group of elders. After he brought his people in and sat on the main seat, his gaze swept across the faces of the group of people. Luli made eye contact with him. He felt the chief's eyes could penetrate his soul and see through his secret. What? Chief was surprised when he saw Luli. He asked with curiosity, "How come I don't know you? Is he new?" Swish, 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 many people turned to look at Luli, who had become eye-catching. Patriarch Gu snorted all of a sudden. "Chief, this is indeed a new protege. He has been assigned to work for me. His character is not good enough. He is not worth mentioning. Chief, let me introduce you. This is Qian Huanhan, my protege." Chief's eyes glowed. He looked at Patriarch Gu and then paid no more attention to Luli. She turned to Qian Huanhan and said, "Your name is Qian Huanhan, right? It is your good fortune to be valued by Shanha. From now on, you must learn to forge artifacts, honor your master, and strive for greater progress." Qian Huanhan bowed excitedly and said, "Yes, Pavilion Master. I won't let you and my master down." Once again, everyone was distracted by Qian Huanhan. No one paid any attention to Luli. Patriarch Gu's remark about Luli's character had sentenced Luli to death. From now on, Luli would never be able to make a name for himself in the Chamber of Relics. No one would care about a registered disciple with no future. The ceremony officially began. Witnessed by many people, Qian Huanhan became Patriarch Gu's protege. Elder Gu had also given Qian Huanhan a supreme-grade divine weapon. This was not counting the gift from the pavilion leader, which was also a supreme-grade divine weapon. Many people were envious of it. After all, the gift from the pavilion leader was no small matter. Qian Huanhan was a supreme-grade divine weapon. With the gift from Chief, Qian Huanhan could basically do whatever he wanted in the Chamber of Relic. As long as he did not provoke Lady Dan or Long Yunhai, the average disciples would not dare to offend Qian Huanhan. After some excitement, the guests left. When everyone was gone, Patriarch Gu called Luli to the backyard at once. Chapter 1297. No wonder. Luli understood now. No wonder Chief Master cared so much about him and asked about him. Fortunately, Patriarch Gu covered it up for Luli. Chief Master did not pursue the matter further and asked Patriarch Gu to investigate in secret. Luli nodded. "Yes, Master. I have an enchanted soul in my soul. I got it by chance." "You sure have many secrets." Patriarch Gu put on a rare smile. "You have just ascended to the divinity and you can get your hands on a rare enchanted soul. Do you have a strong background in the divinity? Enchanted souls are precious." "No," Luli forced a smile. "Master, do you think I will be hunted down if I have a strong background? Why would I try so hard to escape to the Valley of Relics?" Luli thought about it and explained, "I have a sister. She should be a disciple of a major force in the divinity. By chance, she went to the mortal world and was adopted by my father. The enchanted soul belongs to her. Now, my sister has been brought back to the divinity. I do not know which force she belongs to. All I know is that her family or force has the word A in their name." "And I?" Elder Gu frowned and said, "There are many big powers in the divine realm with the word A in their names. There are 2 in the 72 holy sects. One is an Icien Palace, and the other is Tian and I Alliance. I still remember that there are some hidden big powers with the word "ana" in their names. Lu Li's eyes glowed. He took out a portrait at once and handed it to Patriarch Gu. Master, can you help me find out? I want to find my sister. I just need to find her and make sure that she is doing well. I don't need to do anything else. That is easy. Patriarch Gu put away the portrait and nodded. I will send someone to the Cabinet of Mystery later. There is nothing in the world that the Cabinet of Mystery cannot find out. As long as they have enough divine sources, they can find out a lot of information. Ling Wanjian must have asked the Cabinet of Mystery to find out that you killed Ling Faidu. It is a pity that there is no proof of what happened at the Brown Blood Mountain, or else Ling Wanjian would have lost his life. Yes, thank you, Master. Lu Li cupped his fists gratefully. Cabinet of Cloud was one of the 72 sections. It was not surprising that they could trace his identity. He didn't care about what happened in the Cabinet of Cloud. As long as he didn't go out, with Elder Gu's protection, Ling Wanjian wouldn't dare to attack the Valley of Artifacts. What he cared about was the Pavilion Master. He asked worriedly, Master, the Pavilion Master. Don't worry, I'll take care of it. Elder Gu waved his hand and said, The Pavilion Master and I are like brothers. He will listen to my words. You just cultivate in peace. Take a good look at the books I gave you. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me. If you're free, you can go to the Equipment Refining Hall with Qian Huanhan to practice. Learn how to make equipment embryos first. We'll talk about it after you make all kinds of perfect equipment embryos. Yes. Lu Li cupped his fists and left. He went back to his room. Before he entered his room, he was dragged into Qian Huanhan's room. Qian Huanhan touched his face in confusion and asked, Brother Li, have I really become Master's direct disciple? Why do I feel like I'm still dreaming? Ha ha. Qian Huanhan had become Lu Li's direct disciple, but he still called Lu Li Brother Li and was still so close to Lu Li. Lu Li was glad about this. Lu Li nodded and said, Yes. If you think you are still dreaming, how about I give you a slap to wake you up? Well, I don't think so. I have been slapped by Patriarch Gu every day. I will lose my mind if you slap me. Qian Huanhan said bitterly. Then, he asked, why did Patriarch, no, Master ask you to go? Why didn't he ask me to go and teach me? Lu Li burst into laughter. Patriarch Gu did not think much of Qian Huanhan. He was just using Qian Huanhan as a target. Why would Patriarch Gu have the patience to teach Qian Huanhan? Lu Li took out the book Patriarch Gu gave him and said, Patriarch Gu passed on his experience in forging artifacts to us. Han, let me copy it and I will bring it back to you later. Lu Li approved of Qian Huanhan. He also believed that if Qian Huanhan was not good at forging artifacts, nobody would believe that Qian Huanhan was Patriarch Gu's direct disciple. Qian Huanhan would not be able to shield Lu Li from troubles. Good, good, good. Qian Huanhan was overjoyed. But he was not an idiot. Soon, he asked, why didn't Master give it to me in person? Why did he ask you to teach it to me? Logically speaking, Patriarch Gu should have given something of such importance to Qian Huanhan in person. Lu Li was only a registered disciple. How could Patriarch Gu let Lu Li watch and learn together? Ha ha. Lu Li made up a story. Patriarch Gu said he approved of your talent in forging artifacts, but he is speechless about your emotional intelligence. He said that every time he sees you, he wants to hit you. So, in order not to regret taking you in as his direct disciple, he decided not to see you for a while in case you drive him mad. Qian Huanhan touched his nose in embarrassment. Then, he said with a frown, I don't know why. Master just doesn't like me and he will hit me for no reason. I don't think I have done anything wrong, okay? From now on, focus on forging artifacts. Lu Li patted Qian Huanhan's shoulder and said, As long as you can improve quickly in forging artifacts, I believe Patriarch Gu will treat you better. Luli took out a pen and paper to make a copy. When he was done, he gave the original copy to Qian Huanhan. Then, Luli went to the backyard to ask for Patriarch Gu's opinion. After all, he had taken the liberty to give Patriarch Gu's book to Qian Huanhan. Patriarch Gu did not say anything. He even praised Luli for doing the right thing. Now that Patriarch Gu had taken Qian Huanhan in as his direct disciple, Patriarch Gu would feel ashamed if Qian Huanhan was not good at forging artifacts. Luli went into closed-door cultivation as soon as he came back. He began to read the books given to him by Patriarch Gu, which contained Patriarch Gu's thoughts and understanding on forging artifacts. The various steps of forging artifacts were recorded in detail. They were well organized and easy to understand. Luli spent several days reading all the books given to him by Patriarch Gu. Now, he had a systematic understanding of forging artifacts. There were 4 steps to forging artifacts. The first step was to forge artifacts, which was the simplest. Average disciples could master this step after a period of practice. The second step was to inscribe formations. Why were relics so powerful? It was because of the formations inside. The more advanced the formations, the more powerful the relics would be. The third step was to seal the artifact spirit. Many relics had artifact spirit. The artifact spirit was used to control the formations inside, balance the formations inside, and increase the power of the formations. The last step was the most important, which was to stabilize the relic. The relics must be shaped and stabilized. If a relic was not stable, then it would be a piece of junk. For example, if something went wrong with a relic armor all of a sudden, then even a supreme relic would be no different from an average iron armor. The relic would be destroyed in an instant. Stabilizing a relic was also related to its level. If this step was not done well, a supreme relic might be reduced to a high level. Therefore, if the formation and artifact spirit were all right, then one would be able to forge a supreme relic. Of course, there was another step that was critical, and that was the formation. If one could not inscribe profound formations, then one would never be able to forge a high-level relic. Formations were the foundation. Yes, Luli put away the books. He made up his mind to become a forger in a year and forge a relic. Chapter 1298. In the next few days, the artifact pavilion was peaceful, but there were some small waves in the south of the divine realm. Something happened to the High Cloud Pavilion. Several of High Heaven Pavilion's branches were attacked in secret, and these branches were completely annihilated. Not a single person was left alive, nor did they leave behind any evidence. Every branch had hundreds of disciples and countless experts, but they were all slaughtered in a single night. There was no way to fight back. The enemy didn't leave behind any corpses or evidence. There wasn't even a trace. For 3 days in a row, before the High Heaven Pavilion could even react, all the disciples of the 7 branches were silenced. Although the High Heaven Pavilion did not suffer a great loss, it still suffered a great loss. On the 4th day, one of the divine ingredients bases that the High Heaven Pavilion occupied was attacked. Not only were the disciples there killed, but all the divine ingredients inside were stolen. What's more, the base was completely destroyed. The Lord of High Heaven Pavilion flew into a rage and mobilized all of his experts to find the real culprit. At the same time, they offered a huge reward to investigate the culprit and mobilized several allied forces to track down the enemy. After tracking for half a month, he didn't get many clues. He could only guess that it was an assassin organization, a very powerful assassin organization in the divinity realm, the Hidden Killers Hall. The Hidden Death Clan was very famous in the divinity. It was even more powerful than the 72 divinity clans and ranked second among the assassin organizations. Just like the pupilless monkeys, they specialized in assassinations. Apart from the four superforces, as long as there was a divine source, any force would dare to attack. After guessing that it was the hidden kill hall, the Cabinet of Cloud was terrified. They did not dare to cause trouble for the hidden kill hall, and they did not have to look for the culprit. The people from the Cabinet of Cloud had actually guessed that the mastermind was either the Artifact Pavilion or the Craftsman's sect. It was more likely that the Artifact Pavilion was the culprit. If it was the Craftsman's sect, they would probably attack the headquarters of the High Heaven Pavilion. The Pavilion Master of High Heaven Pavilion ordered all branch disciples to return to High Heaven Mountain, and the sects to retreat and defend, to reduce losses. They believed that the hidden killers would not dare to attack the Ling Shao Mountain, which would cost them a lot. Even if the Chamber of Relics was as rich as a country, they would not be able to afford it. At the back of Ling Shao Mountain, Ling Hong walked over on foot and entered a cave. This cave was a completely different world. It had been modified into a super-luxurious palace. Ling Hong entered the palace, and inside sat a dignified old man. The old man's aura was not powerful, but the space around him began to fluctuate and distort, as if it was burning. Furthermore, there were flames leaping in the old man's eyes, which made him feel extremely strange. "Father!" Ling Hong walked in and bowed. The elder held a teapot in his hand and stared at the teapot without looking at Ling Hong. He asked calmly, "How's the situation?" "It's been pretty stable lately. The Hidden Killers Hall hasn't done anything else," Ling Hong reported. "This time, the Chamber of Relics just wants to take revenge on us. After all, they don't have any evidence. The Craftsman's sect won't support them. After all, the Lingshao Pavilion has a good relationship with the Hall of Life and Death. I'm guessing that the Divine Artifact Pavilion will give up. Many of us died this time, and they must have used up a lot of divine roots, right?" Ling Wanjian's expressions did not change. After a moment of silence, he said, "Last time, we asked the pupilless monkeys to help us, but we did not have a good plan. We spent so many divine sources and yet we failed to kill Luli. Do you have any good ideas?" Ling Hong was upset. He sighed. "I have alerted Luli last time. I don't think he will leave the Valley of Relics easily. For now. I don't have a good idea. Think of something." Ling Wanjian suddenly looked up. The two flames in his eyes were like the souls of beasts that could devour people's souls. He said coldly, "The entire southern divinity is laughing at us. My grandson was murdered, and the murderer can get away with it? As long as Luli is alive, I will never be able to hold my head high." "I do have one idea," Ling Hong said after a moment of hesitation. "I have found out that Luli's family is in the Earth Imperial Universe. How about I go to the Spacetime office? I can bring some of Luli's family to the divinity and force Luli to come out and die." Slap! All of a sudden, Ling Wanjian slapped Ling Hong's face. Ling Hong trembled. He had to take 7 or 8 steps back before he could steady himself. There were 5 bloody marks on his face. "Bastard! You haven't made any progress after all these years." Ling Wanjian's eyes were clouded with anger. He scolded, "How many times have I told you? Fight with dignity. Repay kindness with kindness and seek revenge with hatred. You can use tricks, but you cannot resort to despicable means. That will ruin the reputation that the Ling family has built for generations. It will crush the pride of the Ling family disciples. Despicable means will deceive people and make them lose the will to fight. If a warrior ponders over such things all day long, he will lose the heart of a warrior and will never have the chance to climb to the peak." Ling Hong was pale from the scolding, but he did not say anything. He cupped his fists and said, "Father, you are right. I was blinded by hatred. Father, please wait. I will bring someone in. He knows Luli well. I think he can help." Ling Hong left and came back after an hour. He came back with a gray-haired old man. This old man was quite impressive. What impressed people was his aquiline nose. One look and Ling Hong could tell that he was a cruel man. The gray-haired old man walked in. He looked at Ling Wanjian and bowed in fear. "I am Yen Tiangang, the town patriarch of the Black Dragon Mansion. Nice to meet you, Lord Ling." Ling Wanjian threw Yen Tiangang a glance without saying anything. He turned to Ling Hong as if asking why he brought this man in. Ling Hong explained, "Father, the Tiangang family is in a universe close to Lu Li's. His family was wiped out by Lu Li. He knows Lu Li well. I think he has a way to deal with Lu Li." Yen Tiangang bowed again. Ling Wanjian nodded. "Yen Tiangang, do you understand the situation? Do you have a way to kill Lu Li?" Yen Tiangang nodded. "Brother Ling Hong has told me the situation. I have thought about it. If we cannot go to the Earth Imperial Universe to capture Lu Li's family, there is only one way. That is to set up a trap so that Lu Li will have to come to his death." Ling Wanjian raised his eyebrows. "Tell me about it." Yen Tiangang thought about it and said, "In a year and a half, it will be the craftsman's sex competition of craftsmen. By then, all the talented craftsmen in the divinity will gather at the city of craftsmen. If Lu Li goes there, we can find a chance to kill him." Ling Wanjian snorted and said indifferently, "I thought you have a good idea. The participants of the competition of craftsmen are all talent. Lu Li has just joined the Chamber of Relics. He may not even be qualified to go. Even if he can find a chance to go, he will be led by powerful warriors of the Chamber of Relics. How can he do it? Do you want to do it at the City of Craftsmen? Are you going to kill him?" Yen Tiangang did not mind Ling Wanjian's sneer. He cupped his fists and said, "Lord Ling, that is why I said we need to set up a trap. We set up this trap so that Lu Li will have to go to the competition of craftsmen and leave the City of Craftsmen quietly. As soon as he leaves the City of Craftsmen, we will let him die without a burial place." When Yen Tiangang said this, he was confident. Coldness filled his eyes. He was like a beast baring its fangs. "Okay." Chapter 1299. Lu Li had been living a comfortable life. He did not know that Yen Tiangang, Ling Wanjian and Ling Hong were on the same side and were plotting to kill him. Lu Li had been reading books to cultivate divine energy. He did not try to make prototypes. Sharpening the knife would not delay the cutting of firewood. Without a solid foundation, he would only make some junk if he tried to forge artifacts. Patriarch Gu had sent someone to find out about Lu Ling for him, which made Lu Li excited. It was said that there was nothing that Cabinet of Mystery could not find out. But Lu Li had his doubts. If Cabinet of Mystery could find out everything, why didn't they find out where the nest of the pupilless monkeys was? Why didn't they find evidence that Ling Wanjian hired the pupilless monkeys? Lu Li could not ask Patriarch Gu about these things. He only hoped that Cabinet of Mystery was as good as Patriarch Gu said, and that they could find Lu Ling. Qian Huanhan also understood that sharpening the knife would not delay the cutting of firewood. He read the books Patriarch Gu gave him several times and asked Patriarch Gu if there was something he did not understand. It seemed that Qian Huanhan was really interested in forging artifacts, to the point of obsession. Patriarch Gu did not like Qian Huanhan at first, but he did not make trouble for him recently. Patriarch Gu gave Qian Huanhan some more books and asked him to copy them for Lu Li. With Patriarch Gu around, Long Yunhai, Lady Dan and the others did not trouble Lu Li. Lu Li never went out. He had been reading and cultivating for the past half a year. He did not make much progress. The wind-related fundamental principle and the slayers remained at the same level. But his divine energy was doing well, and he had accumulated a lot. Lu Li was well aware that after he became an immortal, it would be hard for him to progress quickly in a short time. Yen Tiangang cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years before he became a mighty warrior in the divinity, and so did Emperor of Heaven Reverse. During the past half a year, Luli had made great progress in forging artifacts. He had all the books collected by a master craftsman and the books given by Patriarch Gu. Luli had devoted himself to studying. He would be an idiot if he could not make any progress. Qian Huanhan stopped cultivating and began to make prototype. He had made several simple prototypes and all of them were perfect. He had some foundation in refining tools, and the tool embryo he refined during the assessment was already perfect. Patriarch Gu was generous. Luli and Qian Huanhan could use the materials in the Hall of Materials as they wished as long as they did not waste them. Luli arrived at the Hall of Artifact Forging. Qian Huanhan had just made a prototype, a square shield. When he saw Luli come in, he handed it over with excitement and said, "Brother Li, take a look at the prototype I made. What do you think?" Luli took it over and took a look. The prototype was as smooth as a mirror, very beautiful. He nodded and said, "Not bad. Xiao Han is talented in forging artifacts." Qian Huanhan beamed with joy and asked, "Brother Li, are you going to forge weapons too?" Luli nodded, cupped his fists and said, "I have asked the Patriarch and he agreed that I can try to forge artifacts on my own." Qian Huanhan grinned and said, "Master is so nice to you. I guess he will take you as his disciple soon." Luli did not say anything. He took out the materials he got from the Hall of Materials, turned on a small stove, and began to forge artifacts. Qian Huanhan had nothing to do so he watched. Luli had only forged artifacts once during the assessment. It was inevitable that he would be flustered. Qian Huanhan guided Luli enthusiastically. The first time Luli forged an artifact, it was not a good result. Luli made a useless one. Qian Huanhan comforted Luli, but Luli was not discouraged. He went on. The second time, he made a prototype of a saber and soon, it was refined to a perfect state. "Wow, Brother Li, isn't your refining technique improving too quickly?" For the third time, Luli's skills became more refined. He did not look like a newbie at all. He controlled the stove skillfully, poured out divine energy, and threw in crystals and materials. His skills were experienced and his timing was precise. Qian Huanhan was dumbfounded. If it were not for the fact that he trusted Luli, Qian Huanhan would have thought that Luli was putting on an act when he was forging artifacts for the first time. Otherwise, how could a person improve so fast? Good. As a matter of fact, Patriarch Gu had been observing. He was the one who built the inhibition formations in the yard. He knew the yard like the back of his hand. Luli was not complacent. He had been reading books on forging artifacts for a long time. His theoretical knowledge was sufficient. What he lacked was practical experience. Naturally, after some practice, he was making rapid progress. Luli went on. This time, he chose a prototype of a bow which was more difficult. Not being able to make a perfect prototype did not mean that he had passed the test. To be able to make prototypes skillfully, one could learn more experience and skills in the process. Practice makes perfect. Qian Huanhan watched for a while. Unwilling to admit defeat, he went to the other side and chose to make a prototype of a bow as well. He had never made such a prototype before. He thought that since his foundation was better than Luli's, he should be able to do it faster. The first time, Luli failed, but Qian Huanhan succeeded. That being said, the product did not look good. They tried again. For the second time, Luli failed again while Qian Huanhan succeeded. Qian Huanhan regained some confidence. It was a pity that he had not made a perfect prototype yet. The third time, Luli finally made it. Qian Huanhan made it as well. He was making some progress, but it was not perfect yet. The fourth time, the fifth time, what made Qian Huanhan speechless was that Luli had made a perfect prototype of a bow before him. In the end, the bow Qian Huanhan made still had some flaws. "Brother Li, you are amazing." Qian Huanhan was frustrated. Clearly, Luli had never been involved in forging artifacts during the test. During this time, Qian Huanhan had been forging artifacts while Lu Li had been cultivating. Qian Huanhan did not know that Lu Li was so talented. It is not that I am amazing, but that you are not calm enough. Lu Li smiled lightly and said, forging artifacts is the same as cultivation. You must be calm and able to endure loneliness. Otherwise, you will not achieve anything. You are not steady enough. Yes, Qian Huanhan was encouraged. His fighting spirit was reignited. He no longer paid attention to Lu Li. Previously, he had been stealing glances at Lu Li from time to time. Naturally, he was distracted. Therefore, his skills were not precise enough. Naturally, he could not make a perfect prototype. Lu Li did not take a rest. He chose to start working on another prototype that was more difficult, a mace. The mace had a unique design. Naturally, it was more demanding to make. It was several times more difficult than a bow. Lu Li immersed himself in the room. He had forgotten everything that was going on outside, including Qian Huanhan, who was next to him. He had devoted himself to forging artifacts. It was the same for Qian Huanhan. He tried again and again. After 2 more failures, he finally made a perfect prototype of a bow. After making several confirmations, Qian Huanhan was delighted. He walked toward Lu Li at once, trying to tell him the good news. However, when he threw a glance to Lu Li and saw that Lu Li was holding a black mace, Qian Huanhan's delight vanished. Qian Huanhan used psychic power to check the mace in Lu Li's hand. Then, he cried, "Brotherly, are you even human? How can you make a perfect prototype of a mace in such a short time?" Rustle, rustle, rustle. At that moment, they heard some footsteps outside. Patriarch Gu came in with 2 pieces of paper. Handing them to Lu Li and Qian Huanhan, Patriarch Gu said, "Make this in 3 days. I want a perfect prototype." Chapter 1300. The item that Patriarch Gu told them to make was not an average weapon. It was more like a strange toy. Nobody knew what it could be used for. The shape was strange, and it was not a single piece. It was a combination. It was complicated. Since Patriarch Gu had given them the order, the 2 had to try their best. They did not take rash actions. Instead, they studied the blueprint carefully and tried to figure out how to make it. Qian Huanhan began after a long time. Lu Li frowned at him but said nothing. He continued to sit cross-legged and watch. He watched for a full 2 days before making his move. During those 2 days, Qian Huanhan had tried 6 times and all of them failed. Lu Li looked at him for a while, and then began to work on the artifact himself. Unsurprisingly, Lu Li failed the first time and the second time as well. The third time, he succeeded, albeit with many flaws. Wow, Qian Huanhan had just failed once. He took a look and was thrilled to see that Lu Li had succeeded. He walked over and exclaimed, "Brotherly, how did you do it? The clasp inside can break easily. How did you make it?" Lu Li did not answer Qian Huanhan's question. He thought for a while and said, "Watch me. I will try again." Lu Li turned on the stove, prepared all kinds of materials and started again. He moved as fast as lightning. He poured out divine energy and used crystals and materials without a moment's pause. He stared at the stove with full attention and tried to sense the situation. His movements were smooth and smooth. He was more experienced and familiar than Qian Huanhan. Buzzing. 2 hours later, the lid of the stove was opened. Lu Li patted the stove and a strange prototype appeared. Lu Li grabbed it in his hand and grinned after he studied it. Perfect. Qian Huanhan took the prototype and gave it a thumbs up. "Brotherly, you are much more talented than I am in forging artifacts. Why didn't our master take you in as his protege?" "Don't talk nonsense." Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Hurry up and go do it. Otherwise, the elders will punish you later." Right. Qian Huanhan came to his senses. He walked to his stove with a frown. He didn't start right away. Instead, he spent the time for several incense sticks to burn to recall what happened when Luli was working on the artifact. It was a pity that it was not perfect. Qian Huanhan thought hard about it and continued. After 3 days, he finally made a perfect tool embryo. Patriarch Gu came in at the right time. He took the prototypes made by Luli and Qian Huanhan. He nodded but did not offer any praise. He paused for a moment and then said, "I'm going to forge a weapon. Go and get the divine materials I need, and watch carefully at the side later." Luli and Qian Huanhan's eyes glowed. Patriarch Gu allowed them to watch. This was a golden opportunity. Back then, Elder Gu was very likely to become a Grandmaster Divine Blacksmith. There was definitely a lot to learn from his smithing technique. Luli and Qian Huanhan collected all the materials according to the list provided by Patriarch Gu. Elder Gu took out a few maroon hexagonal crystals from his space ring along with some unique divine materials. "Watch carefully. Don't make a sound." Patriarch Gu patted the tripod in the middle of the hall. The lid flew up. Rays of light shot out from his hand in a continuous manner. When the stove was turned on, Patriarch Gu threw in all kinds of materials at once. He was extremely fast. One hand was throwing in materials and crystals while the other hand was pouring out divine energy. Luli and Qian Huanhan were dazzled. "What?" Luli noticed something was not right. Patriarch Gu was carving formations in the void? Then, he slapped the formations into the stove. "What?" Luli was shocked. Was Patriarch Gu carving formations at the same time when he was forging the prototype? Shouldn't he carve the formations after the prototype was forged? Would it help if Patriarch Gu put the formations in now? Would it cause the forging of the tool embryo to fail? Patriarch Gu did not stop for a single moment. He kept pouring out divine energy. This time, he did not ask Luli or Qian Huanhan for help. He did it all by himself, with his eyes closed. As more and more materials were thrown in, the stove was making a slight noise as if something valuable was about to come out. After a full 4 hours, all the divine materials had been used up, and Elder Gu stopped pouring his divine power into it. He had been closing his eyes, and he did not open them now. He just sat there with his legs crossed. Boom, 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 the stove was still glaring. From inside came some noises. The lid was trembling as if a beast was about to come out at any time. After the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, the stove quieted down. Patriarch Gu opened his eyes, which were filled with disappointment. He patted the lid and an oval ball flew out. The surface of that sphere was covered with mysterious array patterns. It was a pity that those array patterns did not have any divine light circulating. It looked like the refinement had failed? Thunder trigger? Luli frowned. He could not figure it out. Wasn't the thunder trigger made by Patriarch Gu himself? Elder Gu even gave him a few heavenly thunder summoners. Theoretically speaking, Patriarch Gu should have made many thunder triggers in the past. Why did he fail this time and last time? Patriarch Gu grabbed the thunder trigger and threw it to Qian Huanhan. "Throw this to the Hall of Mystical Materials." "Yes, Master." Qian Huanhan took the thunder trigger and left. Seeing the confusion in Luli's eyes, Patriarch Gu explained, "Do you know what the drawback of the thunder trigger is?" Luli answered after some thoughts, "I think it is an indiscriminate attack. The thunder trigger must be thrown out at a distance of 1 mile or else the caster will be killed. If the caster is a super mighty warrior, by the time the thunder trigger reaches the target, the warrior would have run away." "That is right." Patriarch Gu nodded with approval and explained, "I have been trying to improve the thunder trigger in recent years. If the thunder trigger can be triggered faster and the range of the thunderbolts can be reduced, or the thunderbolts can be directed to a specific target, then the chances of killing a super mighty warrior in the divinity will be greatly increased. However, I have tried many times but failed." Luli bowed with a smile. Master, don't be discouraged. You can already make the thunder trigger, which is already incredible. Given your abilities, I am sure that you can improve the thunder trigger and make it a weapon that can scare warriors in the divinity. Ha ha. Patriarch Gu's mood was lifted by Lu Li's flattery. He nodded and walked out. At the door, Patriarch Gu seemed to have remembered something. He turned around and said, "Don't think about achieving instant success. Don't spend all your time studying. You can try to make a simple relic. Many things can only be improved through practice. Feel free to use the materials in the Hall of Mystical Materials. If you don't have enough, go to the Hall of Internal Affairs. The materials in there are average ones. It is okay to use them all." It is okay to use them all? Lu Li remembered the 14 blood crystals. He cupped his fists and said, "Patriarch, there are 14 blood crystals in the Hall of Mystical Materials. Can you give me all of them?" "Blood crystals? What do you want them for?" Patriarch Gu frowned but did not overthink it. He waved his hand and said, "You can have them all if you want. Later, ask the Hall of Internal Affairs for 20 more. They are valuable, but we have a place in the Chamber of Relics that can produce them. Just don't waste them." "Thank you, Patriarch." Lu Li bowed in excitement. With 14 blood crystals, he could use the Warlord skeleton again. He could kill the average immortals on the list. Right. Lu Li remembered something else. He cupped his fists and said, "Master, do you have Crystal of Icy Soul? I want some." Chapter 1301. Stone of Icy Soul? Patriarch Gu thought about it and asked Lu Li with confusion, "I think the stone is used to improve inhibition formations, right? Forging artifacts is not important and I don't have it. If you want it, take my token to the Division of Internal Affairs and tell them that I need it." Patriarch Gu gave Lu Li a white jade token with the word Gu engraved on it. Lu Li bowed to Patriarch Gu gratefully. Patriarch Gu did not ask for the reason. Lu Li was basically given whatever he wanted. Patriarch Gu had nothing to say. Patriarch Gu left. Qian Huanhan had just come back from the Hall of Materials. He was tired after a while of forging artifacts. He wanted to go back and rest. "Go and have some rest. I will go to the Division of Internal Affairs to get something." Lu Li waved his hand. Qian Huanhan's interest was piqued. He grinned and said, "Let's go. I will go with you. What if you are bullied?" "Let's go then," Lu Li shrugged. Qian Huanhan told Lu Li to wait. He quickly went back and changed into a fancy white robe. On the left chest area of the robe was a star symbol. This was a robe that only core disciples could wear. Qian Huanhan walked in front of Lu Li in an ostentatious manner, as if he was a nouveau riche. He did not take the small paths but swaggered to the widest street. Along the way they would run into some average disciples. Those disciples would stand on the side and bow to Qian Huanhan. This was the sect's rule. Honorary disciples had to bow to official disciples had to bow to outer disciples, and outer disciples had to bow to core disciples. Lu Li was a formal disciple now. He was speechless along the way. Qian Huanhan brought him along the street and they ran into some external disciples. Those external disciples bowed to Qian Huanhan, but Lu Li had to bow to other external disciples. Finally, they arrived at the Division of Internal Affairs. Qian Huanhan was still standing outside. When Lu Yun came out and bowed to him, Qian Huanhan nodded with pride. Lu Yun was an external disciple and his status was not as high as Qian Huanhan's. Lu Li secretly slapped the back of Qian Huanhan's head and said coldly, "Brother Lu Yun has been nice to us. Be careful. You will get yourself killed if you act tough." Qian Huanhan was frightened. Looking at Lu Li, he said, "Brother Li, don't hit me outside. Save me some face. After all, I am a core disciple." Humph, Lu Li didn't give Qian Huanhan any face. He snorted and said, If you dare to disrespect Brother Lu Yun, I will fall out with you. Qian Huanhan was completely terrified. He put on a flattering smile and said, I don't dare, I don't dare. Brother Li, I was wrong. I will change, okay? Lu Yun was walking in the front. Even though Lu Li and Qian Huanhan's voices were low, Lu Yun heard them. He turned around and smiled, not minding it at all. Lu Li and Qian Huanhan greeted the Patriarch of Internal Affairs. Lu Yun showed them to a side chamber. Lu Li took out Patriarch Gu's token and then gave a list to Lu Yun and said, Brother Lu Yun, this is the list of mystical materials that Patriarch Gu asked me to ask the Internal Affairs Hall to provide. Do you have any questions? Lu Yun took a look at Patriarch Gu's token. He took over the list and read it carefully. Soon, he frowned and said, 20 blood crystals? I remember that Patriarch Gu only took 20 last time. If I ask for another 20, it will be against the rules of the hall. Also, I need 10 crystal of soul of ice. Well, this is too much. I need to report to Patriarch Qi. Sure, Lu Li cupped his fists and said, Brother Lu Yun, I will have to ask Patriarch Qi. Lu Yun cupped his fists and walked out of the hall. A moment later, he came back and said, Okay, it is a bit over the limit. But Brother Qian Huanhan has just started to learn forging artifacts. He needs a large amount of materials. Patriarch has given special approval. Later, I will send someone to deliver the materials on the list. There was a rule in the Chamber of Relics. Disciples should be addressed according to their status instead of age or before or after they join the sect. Qian Huanhan was a core disciple and his status was higher than Lu Yun's. Therefore, according to the rules, Lu Yun should call Qian Huanhan brother. Lu Li was delighted. He was about to stand up and thank Lu Yun when two young ladies came in. The two of them looked gloomy. One of the young ladies in a red dress said with jealousy, Brother Lu Yun, you are biased. We are all core disciples. Why can Qian Huanhan give special approval? I only need a bit over the limit, but you don't? Lu Li and Qian Huanhan took a look. Both of them were taken aback. The two that came in were Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu. Lu Li and Qian Huanhan had seen their naked bodies. Since then, they never saw Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu again. They didn't even attend Qian Huanhan's apprenticeship ceremony. Therefore, Lu Li and Qian Huanhan felt awkward when they saw Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu all of a sudden. Lu Li soon calmed down. He did not look at them. Qian Huanhan, on the other hand, stared at them without the slightest scruple. Qian Huanhan's eyes glowed as if he was trying to see through their clothes to their exquisite bodies. Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu felt uncomfortable under Qian Huanhan's stare. Meng Yu hid behind Jiang Lianxue shyly. Jiang Lianxue was enraged. She glared at Qian Huanhan and said, Qian Huanhan, you have just become a core disciple. Do you think I won't dig your eyeballs out? Qian Huanhan came back to his senses. He grinned and said, Ha ha, sorry, Sister Lianxue. You are so beautiful that I could not help but look at you. I hope you don't mind. Jiang Lianxue snorted. She paid no more attention to Qian Huanhan. Looking at Lu Yun, she said, Lu Yun, if you want to give them special approval, then you must give me special approval as well. Otherwise, I will not agree to it today. Lu Yun forced a smile. Sister Lianxue, this is not what they want. It is what Patriarch Gu wants. Also, they only exceeded the limit by a little bit. You have exceeded the limit by a lot. If the higher-ups know about this, the Hall of Internal Affairs will be punished as well. Also, they are giving special approval to Patriarch Qi. If you are not happy, you can ask Patriarch Qi. Lu Yun's words were reasonable. But Jiang Lianxue would not let it go. I don't care. Either they do not exceed the limit. If they exceed the limit and you don't give me the approval, then I will not agree to it. I will not let this go even if the chief finds out. Let's follow the rules. Lu Li and Qian Huanhan were speechless. This Jiang Lianxue was no better than the others. She was unreasonable and capricious. Lu Yun looked at Qian Huanhan and Lu Li, embarrassed. Naturally, Lu Li could not say anything in this situation. Qian Huanhan said with a straight face, "Sister Lianxue, don't be unreasonable. Why are you making things difficult for Lu Yun? Go to Patriarch Qi if you can." Jiang Lianxue was already angry. How dare Qian Huanhan make fun of her? She glared at Qian Huanhan and said, "Qian Huanhan, who do you think you are? You are just lucky enough to be accepted as Patriarch Gu's protégé. Do you really think you are somebody? You have no right to speak in the Chamber of Relics. Do you believe that I will slap you?" Qian Huanhan was enraged. How could Jiang Lianxue be so arrogant just because she was related to the chief? Without hesitation, Qian Huanhan retorted, "Slap me? You can try. Do you believe that I won't reveal what happened between the two of you that day?" *T. Chapter 1302. As soon as Qian Huanhan said those words, Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu's expressions changed. Jiang Lianxue's eyes were filled with murderous intent. Her pretty face was twisted. She was like a lioness that was about to devour someone. "Good, good, good," Jiang Lianxue said. She glanced at Qian Huanhan and Lu Li and said coldly, "You acted well the other day. Just you wait." With that said, Jiang Lianxue left with Meng Yu. Lu Li felt bitter. This time, he was in big trouble. Qian Huanhan scratched his head. He turned to Lu Li and said, "Brother Li, did I say something wrong?" Lu Li wanted to kick Qian Huanhan, but Lu Yun was here. Qian Huanhan was a fool. No wonder Patriarch Gu could be angered so easily. Lu Li did not answer Qian Huanhan's question. He was thinking fast about what was going to happen next. He believed that Jiang Lianxue would not just leave like this. She would come after them. Lu Li must figure out how to deal with the situation. "No. Let's go." Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Little Han, go back now. We will be in big trouble later." Jiang Lianxue would not leave the matter at that. She would find someone. Given Jiang Lianxue's character, she would not care about anything. She would deal with the matter first. They would be at a disadvantage if they stayed here. Therefore, they would only be safe if they went back to Patriarch Gu's place. With Patriarch Gu here, they could not turn the tables. Qian Huanhan came to his senses. He knew that a loose tongue would bring trouble. He and Lu Li bid farewell to Lu Yun and hurried back to Patriarch Gu's yard. They ran as fast as they could. In the time for half an incense stick to burn, they were back. Luckily, Jiang Lianxue did not send anyone to stop them. Lu Li waited for a moment. Making sure that nothing was going on, he said, "Don't go out for a while. If Jiang Lianxue comes, go and ask Patriarch Gu for help." "Sure," Qian Huanhan nodded. The two of them sat in the room for another hour. Seeing that there was still no movement, they were slightly relieved. A while later, Lu Li went back to his room. He could not stay here forever because of this. He told Qian Huanhan that it was his fault. Qian Huanhan apologized to Lu Li and said that he was implicated. Back in his room, Lu Li continued to read. A day later, there was still no movement outside. He gradually relaxed and no longer paid attention to it. 2 days later, the inhibition formation in Lu Li's room glowed. He raised his eyebrows. Suddenly, he had a bad feeling. He immediately opened the inhibition formation. Qian Huanhan rushed in like lightning and said, "Bad news. Brotherly, that crazy woman Jiang Lianxue is here with her men." Lu Li checked with psychic power at once. Jiang Lianxue, Meng Yu, Long Yunhai, Long Yunshan, Long Wentian, and an old man had come in angrily. Lu Li checked the backyard with psychic power, only to find that Patriarch Gu was not here. Luring the tiger away from the mountain. Lu Li understood at once. No wonder Jiang Lianxue didn't come to him at once despite her character. She was trying to find a chance to trick Patriarch Gu away. The footsteps were getting closer, but Luli didn't do anything. His eyes flickered as he tried to think of a way. Long Yunhai and the others were nothing to be afraid of. The problem was the old man who looked like a servant. This old man's aura was very strong. He was at least a deity on the list. Luli had 14 blood crystals. If he used the warlord skeleton, he should be able to kill this old man. But he could not use the warlord skeleton or else the wicked bead would be exposed. If he didn't use the warlord skeleton, then Luli and Qian Huanhan would be tortured. Not only would they be beaten up, but many memories would be erased. Erasing some of their memories would not be a big deal. But what if their souls were damaged? In that case, they might not become fools and idiots, but their future cultivation would be affected. What to do? Where is my master? Lu Li's eyebrows were knitted together. Qian Huanhan, on the other hand, said furiously, "Brother Li, don't worry. I will fight them." Fight? How? Lu Li was speechless. That old servant was strong. He could defeat the two in one move. Take this. Lu Li had an idea. He took out a lightning trigger and handed it to Qian Huanhan. Take it out at the critical moment to deter others, but do not use it. This is a lightning trigger. Once it is used, we will all be blasted into pieces. This is good. This is good. Qian Huanhan's eyes glowed. Of course, he had heard of this, but he asked in confusion, "Brother Li, how come you have this?" "Don't ask so many questions. They are here." Lu Li didn't know how to explain. Coincidentally, the sound of footsteps had arrived. Lu Li quickly changed the topic and said, "Later on, you have to be tough and say that you don't know anything. You didn't see anything and you just guessed something. You are a core disciple. Don't be afraid of making a scene. The more you make a scene, the other patriarchs will notice. In that case, they will not dare to do anything." Qian Huanhan bore Lu Li's words in mind. He put away the lightning trigger and walked out with his head held high. Before he stepped out, he heard Jiang Lianxue shouting, "Qian Huanhan, Lu Li, get out here!" Qian Huanhan walked out proudly and fearlessly. He stood in front of the attic and glanced coldly at Jiang Lian, Shuelong, Yunhai and the others. He cupped his hands and said expressionlessly, "Qian Huanhan pays his respects to senior brothers, sisters and senior." Lu Li came out as well. He stood behind Qian Huanhan and bowed. Qian Huanhan said, "Why are you here in such a threatening manner? If you are here to see my master, please come back later. My master is not here." "We are not here for Patriarch Gu. We are here for you," Jiang Lianxue answered coldly. Qian Huanhan replied emotionlessly, "Why are you here, Sister Jiang? Please tell us." Jiang Lianxue turned to the old man behind her and said, "You have seen something you are not supposed to. I have asked Uncle Li to help you forget about this." "I see." Lu Li and Qian Huanhan looked at each other. Lu Li said nothing but winked at Qian Huanhan. The latter replied coldly, "Sister Jiang, we did not see or hear anything. We just have some guesses. My master is not here. I don't think you should make a scene here. Otherwise, my master will be angry when he comes back." "That is exactly what we want." Jiang Lianxue snorted. "Uncle Li, do it. Patriarch Gu will be back in 2 hours at most. Erase their memory of what happened at the Brown Blood Mountain and what happened here. Patriarch Gu will not know anything." Whoosh whoosh, the old man behind Jiang Lianxue came over like a ghost. In an instant, he had reached Qian Huanhan and Lu Li. He reached out his hands toward Lu Li's and Qian Huanhan's heads, trying to knock them out. Qian Huanhan reacted well. The interspatial ring on his hand glowed and the lightning trigger came out. Divine energy glowed in his hand. Looking at the black-robed old man, Qian Huanhan said emotionlessly, "Try me. I will activate the lightning trigger." Swish, 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 Jiang Lianxue, Long Yunhai, and Long Yunshan were taken aback. If Qian Huanhan were to activate the lightning trigger, not only would they die, but so would half of the Chamber of Relics. Buzzing, the black-robed old man's expression did not change. A blue glare came out from his eyes and went into Qian Huanhan's eyes. Qian Huanhan was frozen on the spot. When the black-robed old man was about to knock Qian Huanhan out, Lu Li took out another lightning trigger. For the first time, Lu Li said, "Lord Li, don't push me too far. A life-and-death struggle will do no good to either of us." Buzzing, Uncle Li's eyes glowed with a blue light and disappeared into Lu Li's eyes. Chapter 1303. What? Uncle Li was taken aback. The smiles on Jiang Lianxue and the others' faces that had just been filled with joy froze. Uncle Li's soul attack was not the best, but it was good enough. How come it was ineffective against Lu Li? Uncle Li did not give up hope. His eyes glowed in a blue light again. He was about to strike again. Lu Li was enraged. He shouted, "If you do this again, I will ask Chief Master for help." Buzzing, Uncle Li's eyes glowed. Another 2 rays of blue light entered Lu Li's eyes. But Lu Li was fine. Lu Li did not dare to take the risk. He used Dragon Roar and bellowed, "Don't push me too far or I will use Thunder Trigger and we will all die together." Lu Li's Dragon Roar was not of much use now. The only benefit was that his voice was loud. It was so earth-shattering that the entire Valley of Artifacts heard it. Jiang Lianxue and Long Yunhai were taken aback. Patriarch Gu had been lured away, but Chief Master of Relics was still here. Such a loud roar would alert them. What was more, Lu Li's mention of Thunder Trigger would attract many people's attention. Buzzing, sure enough, countless divine wills immediately swept over. After sweeping through the area, many figures in the courtyards immediately soared into the sky and quickly flew over. "Uncle Li, do it. I will bear all the consequences." Jiang Lianxue bit her teeth. There was a glint of madness in her eyes. She was betting that Lu Li would not use Thunder Trigger or he would die as well. Whoosh, a glint of cruelty rose in Uncle Li's eyes. He dashed toward Lu Li in a blink of an eye. A glaring dagger appeared in Uncle Li's hand. The dagger glowed in black, blue and red. Uncle Li stabbed at Lu Li's head. "He is trying to kill me." Lu Li sensed a fatal danger in his soul. In a split of a second, a strand of divine energy rose in his hand. The Thunder Trigger in his hand glowed in 7 colors. There seemed to be many streams of air moving around, bumping against each other. The sphere did not explode. Instead, it was getting brighter and more dazzling. This lunatic Long Yunhai, Long Yunshan, and the others were drained of all color. They tried to run away. Uncle Li was also frightened. He didn't dare to continue attacking and quickly retreated. As for Jiang Lianxue, Meng Yu, and the others, they were scared out of their wits. Their delicate bodies were trembling violently, and their legs were trembling. Jiang Lianxue's calves were faintly oozing yellow liquid. She was actually scared to the point of peeing. Buzz! In the sky, Xian Qi in heaven and earth surged. Then, a semi-transparent hand suddenly appeared and reached toward Lu Li. Big hands? He grabbed Lu Li in his hand and then the space around Lu Li was frozen. The Thunder Trigger stopped glowing. Long Xuesha has made his move? Amazing! Lu Li was relieved. Of course, he didn't want to die. Just now, he used the lightning trigger on purpose. "You haven't answered me." Before Lu Li could answer, Qian Huanhan stepped forward and said, "My master gave it to me to protect myself. He gave me 2 and I just gave 1 to Lu Li." "Where is Shanha?" Chief asked coldly after checking with psychic power. "Where is Shanha?" Qian Huanhan glanced to Jiang Lianxue and the others. He cupped his fists and said, "My master left in a hurry. I think Sister Jiang Lianxue and the others should know where he is." "It is not like that." Jiang Lianxue finally came to her senses. If this went on, she would be in the wrong. She hurried over despite the fact that her dress was wet. Grandpa, it is not like that. We just wanted to erase a part of Qian Huanhan's and Lu Li's memory. We didn't want to kill them. But Lu Li is a lunatic. He really used the lightning trigger. He is insane. We cannot let a man like him stay in the hall. Otherwise we will be in big trouble. Shut up, Chief scolded coldly. Go back and clean yourself up. What a scandal. Everyone here was a powerful warrior. They could tell what Jiang Lianxue was from the watermark on her dress and the faint smell. Jiang Lianxue was so ashamed that she wished she could crawl into the ground. She covered her face with her hands and ran away, crying. Bring Qian Huanhan and Lu Li to the Hall of Discipline. Chapter 1304. In the Hall of Law, everyone stood in silence. Jiang Lianxue came back after changing into a new robe. Chief Master and Long Xuesha did not sit in the main seat. Patriarch Sun from the Hall of Law was the chief interrogator, while Jiang Lianxue and Long Xuesha sat on the side, emotionless. Patriarch Sun had been a patriarch of the Hall of Law all his life. He was experienced. He asked questions one by one. When he was questioning someone, the others were not allowed to speak. Patriarch Sun was skillful in his questioning. With just a few words, he had laid out the truth. Everyone here was a sly fox. They could figure out the details easily. Back at the Brown Blood Mountain, Qian Huanhan and Lu Li peeked at Jiang Lianxue and Meng Yu's naked bodies. Maybe the two did not shut off their senses and knew everything? Therefore, Jiang Lianxue brought Uncle Li with her to erase Lu Li's and Qian Huanhan's memories. Lu Li and Qian Huanhan were not willing to have their memories erased or to be manipulated. Therefore, they took out the lightning trigger to force Li Feng to leave. However, Li Feng resorted to soul attack. In the end, Lu Li used the lightning trigger to alert everyone. It was simple. If it were not for the fact that Lu Li used the lightning trigger in the end, what happened today would have been trivial. Chief Master and the patriarchs would not have paid attention. There were two things wrong with this. First, Jiang Lianxue tricked Patriarch Gu away so that she could attack Qian Huanhan and Lu Li. Second, Lu Li used the lightning trigger in the end. Deceiving the patriarchs was tantamount to deceiving the master. The first rule of the Hall of Relics was that deceiving the master was a serious offense. If it were not for Long Xuesha, many in the Chamber of Relics would have perished today. This was a serious offense. If this matter was not dealt with seriously, the other disciples might follow suit. The consequences would be unimaginable. Patriarch Sun was supposed to be in charge of the conviction. However, Qian Huanhan was Patriarch Gu's personal student and Jiang Lianxue was from the Chief Master's family. Her father was a patriarch of the Chamber of Relics. Patriarch Sun could not make the decision. Cupping his fists, he asked Chief Master, "Chief Master, how do you think we should deal with this?" The Pavilion Master expressionlessly scanned the hall. Today, many elders had come, a total of 40 to 50 of them. He paused for a moment and asked, "Everyone, tell me, how should we deal with this matter?" The fact that the Pavilion Master didn't give any instructions himself meant that he couldn't make up his mind. Or perhaps, he needed the elders to help him say something that was difficult to say. Many patriarchs understood. One of them stood up and said, "I think Lu Li has used the trigger of thunder in the valley. He cannot be forgiven. I suggest that he be expelled from the Chamber of Relics." Jiang Lianxue, Qian Huanhan, and Long Yunhai should be locked up for a year as punishment. Lu Li glanced over with a cold smile on his face. Qian Huanhan panicked when he heard that. He wanted to say something, but Elder Sun glanced at him coldly. "You are all guilty. I didn't ask you to speak, so shut up. Otherwise, you will be even more guilty." Lu Li patted Qian Huanhan's shoulder to tell him to take it easy and wait for the patriarchs to finish. Qian Huanhan stood there, fuming. He looked at the patriarchs coldly, waiting for their opinion. Another patriarch stood up. Ignoring Qian Huanhan's stare, the patriarch cupped his fists to Chief Master and Long Xuesha. I think Patriarch Lei's punishment is too light. If it were not for Patriarch Long, how many people would have died? Is it enough to just expel Lu Li from the Chamber of Relics? I think Lu Li should be executed as a warning to the disciples. Qian Huanhan could no longer stand. But Lu Li grabbed Qian Huanhan's arm and glared at him, telling him to keep quiet. Lu Li himself was calm. Apart from the faint hint of mockery, he didn't seem to be upset. He looked on coldly as if he was looking at a bunch of monkeys jumping up and down. It was ridiculous. Lu Li's reaction had enraged several patriarchs. They stood up and agreed with this patriarch's suggestion to sentence Lu Li to death. As for the crimes of Jiang Lianxue and the others, they didn't even mention it. It was as if this was a special meeting to judge Lu Li. Another patriarch raised an objection. I think Lu Li had no other choice. Just now, he said that Li Feng was going to kill him. He did it to protect himself because he had no other choice. In the end, it didn't lead to a disaster, did it? I think we can just sentence him to death and expel him from the Chamber of Relics. We can just imprison him for 1,000 years as a punishment. Lu Li looked at this patriarch gratefully. This patriarch had a conscience. Clearly, the other patriarchs were going against their conscience. But on second thought, Jiang Lianxue was from the chief master's family and her father was a patriarch. Even though her father didn't say anything, the fact that her father was sitting here today was a show of his attitude. There was also Long Yunhai and the others. Long Xuesha was sitting up there. Long Yunhai and the others had only followed him over without doing anything. Even if they did do something, they would turn it into a trivial matter. On the other hand, Lu Li. He was an insignificant disciple, and Patriarch Gu had criticized him in public. A disciple like him was at the bottom of the Chamber of Relics. He had no power, no background, and no talent. For many patriarchs, the execution of a disciple like him was not worth mentioning. The patriarchs only mentioned Lu Li instead of Qian Huanhan because Qian Huanhan was Patriarch Gu's private student. Patriarch Gu would not be happy with the punishment. What was more, it was Lu Li who used the lightning trigger and he almost caused a disaster. Who else could they blame but Lu Li? This was a serious matter. Someone must take the fall. Otherwise, how could the disciples be deterred? How could they clean up the rules? How could they warn the future generations? Many patriarchs expressed their opinions. Most of them chose to punish Lu Li severely. Some of the others gave up and some spoke up for Lu Li. But without exception, nobody said to punish Jiang Lianxue and Li Feng severely. When most of the patriarchs had expressed their opinions and no one else said anything, Chief Master turned to Lu Li and said, "Lu Li, do you have anything to say? If not, I am going to convict you." Of course, Lu Li had something to say. But he did not defend himself. He cupped his fists and asked, "Chief Master, will my words affect the result of the punishment? If my words are meaningless, then I don't want to waste your time." Lu Li's calmness and words surprised many patriarchs. They had been in this situation many times. Most of the time, people would cry out, beg for mercy, or swear at the top of their lungs. However, Lu Li was so calm. Was he not going to defend himself? This punk is smart. Patriarch Sun and the other patriarchs from the Hall of Law looked at each other and exclaimed to themselves. Lu Li's words were calm, but he had forced Chief Master into a dead end. Was Chief Master going to say that nothing Lu Li said would work? Chief Master would not say that. If Chief Master said that Lu Li's words would work, then he would be falling into Lu Li's trap. Chief Master could become the Chief Master of Chamber of Relics and a Master Craftsman. Naturally, Chief Master was a smart man. He would not fall into Lu Li's trap. He said emotionlessly, "You have to tell me before you know if it will work or not. If you don't, I will assume that you are obeying the sentence. I will talk." Chapter 1305. Luli revealed the truth. If he and Jiang Lianxue had switched identities, the result of the punishment would have been different. At that time, everyone would only say that Jiang Lianxue was making trouble. Eventually, she would be locked up for a period of time. Jiang Lianxue's surname was Jiang. The Pavilion Master's surname was also Jiang. Who dared to execute the Pavilion Master's clansmen? Who would dare to expel the Pavilion Master's clansmen from the pavilion? They were well aware of many things, but they would not say it out loud. Luli had unraveled the veil and given the patriarchs a slap in the face. Before the other patriarchs could refute, Luli said again, "I think the rules of the sect should treat everyone equally. We shouldn't judge based on status and identity. If a prince breaks the law, he will be punished the same as a commoner. Otherwise, not only will I not be convinced, all the other disciples will not be convinced." Luli took a breath and continued in a loud voice, "If you were in my shoes, someone would want to wipe your memory, humiliate you, or kill you. Are you going to stand there and let others humiliate you? Are you going to let others control your fate? Stand there and wait to be killed?" After Li Feng failed to launch a soul attack on me, he still wanted to attack me. When I shouted and alerted everyone in the valley, Jiang Lianxue still ordered him to attack me. He even took out his weapon to kill me. Everyone tell me, what should I do? If I didn't activate the Heavenly Thunderbringer, it wouldn't be your turn to judge me right now. I would already be dead. Am I supposed to die? If Jiang Lianxue and Li Feng want to kill me, should I just stand there and let them kill me? Tell me, what's the logic behind this? Elder Gu once said that the Heavenly Thunderbringer is very powerful, but if an expert wants to make a move, it can instantly seal them. He said that there were at least 3 people in the pavilion who could seal the Heavenly Thunderbringer, so I activated it. I don't want to perish indiscriminately, nor do I want to drag the disciples of the pavilion down with me. I just want to protect myself. If I wanted to perish indiscriminately, why would I need to alert the Pavilion Master and the elders? Have you ever thought about that? I, Luli, am just an average disciple in the pavilion. My status is lowly. But I would like to ask all of you, when you were my age, were you already hall masters and elders? There were tens of thousands of disciples in the pavilion. Were they all going to receive unfair treatment? Could it be that, when you were young, when you were still disciples, you deserved to be treated like this? The artifact pavilion is famous in the south of the divinity realm, and it is the model of all sects in the divinity realm. It has the magnanimity to swallow the whole world. Why can't you accept a little disciple like me? I'm done. Whether it's meaningful or not, I just want to express my attitude. If you insist on killing me, then I, Luli, have nothing to say and I will not resist. I don't ask for anything. I only ask that you stop talking about those high-sounding principles. Everyone has a scale in their hearts. Everyone knows the truth in their hearts. Don't insult each other's intelligence, okay? Luli spoke eloquently, but his tone wasn't intense or angry. His expression was calm, as if he was narrating someone else's story. The hall quieted down after Luli's words. As Luli said, everyone knew the truth. At this moment, if he continued to shout insults, he would be like a clown. Those that could reach a certain realm were not idiots. The Chamber of Relics had always been about rules. They claimed to be a righteous sect, and they were reasonable in everything. The patriarchs cared about their reputation. What would others think of them if they jumped out at this moment? You are so eloquent. Patriarch Sun and the other patriarchs looked at each other and exclaimed to themselves. The best thing about Luli was that he had been calm the entire time. His tone wasn't extreme and he was polite. He was reasonable and never pestered. Sometimes he would stir up emotions, but not too much. At the same time, he had set up several situations and quoted many principles. It just so happened that nobody dared to refute those principles. That was the universally acknowledged truth. Usually, the patriarchs would talk about it. To refute Luli would be a slap to their own faces. Was this world really fair? The answer was no. Would a prince be punished the same as a commoner when he broke the law? It was ridiculous. Laws were made by the ruling class. Laws were designed to protect the power of the ruling class, to rule the people, and to restrain the civilians. In other words, laws were made by the rulers to the ruled. The rulers were the ones who made the rules, and they could change the rules at any time. Jiang Lianxue had broken the rules, and so had Luli. But one was the privileged class and the other the people at the bottom. Now, the ruler needed someone to take the blame. He needed someone to warn the ruled to play according to the rules of the game. That person must be Luli, not Jiang Lianxue. Otherwise, the chief's prestige would be affected, and the chief would not be able to answer to the races. Just as Luli said, everyone knew what was going on and they spoke against their conscience. But there was nothing they could do about it. The patriarchs were of a privileged class. If they did not defend their own, would they defend Luli, a disciple at the bottom? Luli's clever move was to point this out. The patriarchs who were obsessed with fame were afraid to speak up. Many patriarchs were angry. But if they continued to speak, they would be humiliated if Luli chased after them. Everyone had witnessed Luli's glib tongue. The others didn't say anything, but Jiang Lianxue's father had to. He stood up, cupped his fists to the chief and Long Xueshao and said, "Luli, you are eloquent. You know how to twist the facts and arouse people's sympathy. You know how to flatter the chief and the patriarchs. But no matter what, you used Thunder Trigger and almost caused the tragic death of many disciples. You cannot change the fact. Doesn't it count as rape if it doesn't go through? What kind of fallacy is that? You have broken the rules. That is a fact. No matter how you explain it, you cannot get around it." Luli didn't know Jiang Lianxue's father, but he must be Jiang Lianxue's relative if he dared to speak up. Luli smiled, cupped his fists and said, "Patriarch, you are mistaken, I didn't rape. As a matter of fact, it was Jiang Lianxue who started the fight. If someone wanted to rape, it was she who wanted to rape me. Tell me, under those circumstances, should I fight back or should I enjoy it?" PFF, a patriarch had just taken a sip of tea and spat it out. Many other patriarchs couldn't help but want to laugh as well. Eventually, they pretended to cough and turned around. Jiang Lianxue's face was burning. Her eyes were spitting fire. Today, she had been disgraced to the core. What she did at the Brown Blood Mountain was exposed. Today, she wet her pants and was scolded by the chief. Now, Luli was saying in front of so many people that she was going to rape him? She was enraged. Pointing at Luli, she said, "Luli, you bastard. I will kill you. I will kill you." Jiang Lianxue was right next to Luli. She took out a red sword which gave off a dark and blue glow. She stabbed at Luli in a flash. Qian Huanhan hurried to stand in front of Luli. His supreme relic armor appeared. Jiang Lianxue's weapon was a supreme relic. Qian Huanhan thought that Luli did not have a supreme relic armor, so he wanted to protect Luli from Jiang Lianxue. At this moment, a cold snort sounded from outside, followed by a hoarse old voice. "Jiang Zuqiang, you've raised a good daughter. She dares to assassinate my disciple in front of the pavilion master and all the elders?" Chapter 1306. Patriarch Gu should not have come back so soon. According to the original plan, it would take at least 2 hours. There must be a reason for him to come back earlier. Last time at the Brown Blood Mountain, Patriarch Gu gave Luli and Qian Huanhan a golden jade talisman each. Luli had used his and Qian Huanhan's was not used yet. When they came to the Hall of Law, Luli asked Qian Huanhan to crush the jade talisman. Patriarch Gu must have sensed it. He must know that something was wrong and came back at once. Back at the Valley of Relics, Patriarch Gu asked around and learned the gist of the matter. As soon as he stepped into the Hall of Law, He heard that Jiang Lianxue wanted to kill Lu Li and that she was hacking at Qian Huanhan with her sword. How could he not be angry? The Hall of Law was a spacious hall with many powerful warriors. Naturally, Patriarch Gu would not allow Jiang Lianxue to kill someone here. Just now, Chief and Jiang Lianxue's father were about to stop Jiang Lianxue. Unexpectedly, Patriarch Gu came back. Coincidentally, he happened to run into this. Whoosh! Chief moved his hand. After a white glare, Jiang Lianxue's sword was knocked away. Chief scolded, "Jiang Lianxue, have you had enough?" Jiang Lianxue was already startled to see Patriarch Gu come in. She was terrified. Now, her sword was knocked away and she was scolded by Chief with a hostile tone. Jiang Lianxue did not dare to act recklessly. She stood there, feeling wrong. Her eyes reddened and tears welled up. Patriarch Gu did not look at Jiang Lianxue. He cupped his fists to Long Xuesha and walked to Lu Li and Qian Huanhan. "Tell me the details." Lu Li said nothing. Qian Huanhan told Patriarch Gu in a low voice. He did not exaggerate. He just told the whole story. He believed that Patriarch Gu could tell the difference easily. Patriarch Gu pulled a long face. When he heard that Li Feng wanted to kill Lu Li, his eyes were spitting fire. When Qian Huanhan finished, Patriarch Gu cupped his fists and said, "Chief, how should we deal with this? Shanhe did not teach his disciples well. How about we banish him and me?" What? The criminal law hall was in an uproar. Elder Gu didn't have a good relationship with many elders, and he even became enemies with a few elders. But when Elder Gu said this, the expressions of the group still changed. It wouldn't matter if Elder Gu was just an ordinary elder, but Elder Gu was the only great divine craftsman who could refine the Thunderbringer. Once Elder Gu left the artifact pavilion, it would be a huge loss for the artifact pavilion. If Elder Gu joined a rival crafting sect, it would be a heavy blow to the artifact pavilion. The owner's expression changed slightly. Then, he said with a straight face, "Shanhe, what are you doing? You don't even trust me?" The pavilion master's last sentence made Jiang Lianxue's father and others' hearts skip a beat. Was the pavilion master going to set the tone? That being said, Patriarch Gu was so determined to protect Qian Huanhan and Lu Li that he was willing to leave the Chamber of Relics. Even if Lu Li and Qian Huanhan killed some average disciples, the chief would have to give in, not to mention this. The pavilion master thought for a moment and walked towards the side hall. At the door, he said to Elder Gu, "Shanhe, come in for a moment." Patriarch Gu walked in with a gloomy face. Lu Li and Qian Huanhan looked at each other. Both were relieved. They both knew that they had passed today's test. Even if there were going to be punishments, it would be minor. Qian Huanhan gave Lu Li a thumbs up. He was completely convinced by Lu Li's performance today. If it were not for Lu Li's reminder, Qian Huanhan would not have thought of breaking the jade talisman to warn Patriarch Gu. If it were Qian Huanhan, he would not have been able to speak so calmly and leave the Patriarch speechless. Lu Li, on the other hand, wasn't too surprised because he had already seen this coming. Patriarch Gu valued Lu Li. Once Patriarch Gu made up his mind to protect Lu Li, nobody in the Chamber of Relics would dare to lay a finger on Lu Li. It was because of this that Lu Li dared to use Lightning Trigger. He wanted to settle this once and for all. He believed that after this, nobody in the Chamber of Relics would have the guts to trouble him. Also, if he did not use Lightning Trigger, he could have been seriously injured or even killed by Li Feng. It was quiet in the hall. The patriarchs were not happy. They looked at Lu Li and Qian Huanhan in a hostile manner. Lu Li did not mind. He did not rely on the patriarchs to help him. He was not capable enough, so no one could help him. As long as he was capable, nobody could stop him from ascending to the top. A moment later, the pavilion master and Elder Gu walked out together. Elder Gu's expression became calm as he expressionlessly sat down on a seat. Chief looked at the patriarchs and said, Jiang Lianshu and Li Feng were the ones who stirred up trouble. The impact is very negative. I announce that Jiang Lianshu's status as a core disciple is revoked and she will be grounded for 5 years. Li Feng will be grounded for 10 years and Long Yunhai, Long Yunshan, and Long Wentian will be grounded for half a year. Qian Huanhan will be grounded for 3 months. Lu Li is at fault as well. He will be grounded for half a year. Inform the entire Chamber of Relics as a warning to others. Even though the patriarchs had seen this coming, many found it hard to accept the chief's announcement. Jiang Lianshu's status as a core disciple was revoked and she was grounded for 5 years? She was at the most impulsive age. She must have lost her mind after being grounded for 5 years. More importantly, Long Yunhai and the others did nothing, and yet they were grounded for half a year? Lu Li was grounded for half a year after making such a big mess? That was the difference in treatment. Who was Lu Li? Long Yunhai was Long Xuesha's grandson. How could he be treated the same as Lu Li? Many people were confused. Even Long Xuesha was displeased. Jiang Lianshu's father was taken aback. He stood up, bowed and said, "Chief, say no more." Chief waved his hand in a domineering manner and said, "I have made up my mind. Say no more." Chief did not mind Jiang Lianshu's father's attitude. He just threw Long Xuesha a glance and winked at him. Long Xuesha said nothing in the end. He waved his hand and said, "Chief, now that you have made your decision, let's carry it out." Dismissed. Someone, Patriarch, son of the Hall of Law, waved his hand and said, "Bring Jiang Lianshu, Long Yunhai, Lu Li, and Qian Huanhan to the backyard and ground them." A group of disciples from the Hall of Law came and escorted Jiang Lianshu, Lu Li, and the others away. Patriarch Gu left without saying anything. The other patriarchs excused themselves. Jiang Lianshu's father felt wronged, but he did not dare to disobey the chief's order. He left in a huff. The hall, which was originally filled with people, suddenly became empty. Patriarch's son went to make arrangements. Only Chief and Long Xuesha were left in the hall. Chief looked at Long Xuesha and said, "You have spoiled Yunhai and Yunshan too much. Let them go through more hardships. It will be better for their growth in the future." "I know. I am not against it." Long Xuesha touched his beard and asked with a frown, "I just don't understand why Lu Li is being punished like this. Many disciples in the department will not accept this." Did Shan He speak up for him? Buzzing, Chief suddenly activated a soundproof inhibition formation. His eyes glowed as he said, "Xuesha, this cannot be told to others. Pretend you know nothing after you hear it. That Lu Li is the real apprentice of Shan He. Qian Huanhan is just a cover. What's more, Lu Li has learned the Slayer's move." "What?" Chapter 1307. There was a castle at the northwest corner of the Valley of Relic. It was not a large castle. There was only one door and no windows, which gave it a spooky look. This castle was a nightmare for many disciples in the Valley of Relic. Usually, some disciples would not even want to go near this place. Once they did, they would feel a chill down their spines. This was the prison of the Chamber of Relic. Many disciples had died here. They were driven mad and committed suicide in here. Disciples who were sentenced to be imprisoned here for thousands or tens of thousands of years would not be able to walk out. They would either lose their minds or die. Lu Li and the others were brought here and put in a small room. Lu Li was taken to a room. It was dark and cold. It was uncomfortable to be in here. Creak, after bringing Lu Li in, the disciple of the Hall of Law closed the door and activated the inhibition formation. Lu Li curled his lips. The Chamber of Relics was a strange place. Jiang Lianshu would lose her mind if she were to stay here for 5 years. Ah, Lu Li heard a scream. He frowned. There was an inhibition formation in here, but it did not seem to be soundproof. Or was it that the master who built the inhibition formation in this prison did it on purpose? Was the master trying to instill fear in the people here and make them suffer? Let me out. Let me out. It is so dark here. I am scared. Father, help me. Wu. Jiang Lianxue cried again. She sounded like she was crying and filled with fear. She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She had never been wronged since she was a kid. This time, not only was she humiliated, but she was also locked up in a place like this. Jiang Lianxue was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Sister Lianxue, don't be afraid. Long Yunhai said, comforting her. Sister, you can take out some treasures to light up the place. You will be less afraid when there is light. Think of this as your bedroom. You can cultivate in your room for a while. You will be fine soon. Li Feng said, Young lady, don't be afraid. I am here. Young Master Long is right. Take out a luminous pearl to light up the place. We are nearby. It will be fine. Jiang Lianxue's voice came again. She cried, Uncle Li, Brother Yunhai, I am still scared. Am I really going to be locked up here for 5 years? If that's the case, I would rather die. Uncle Li hurriedly consoled her. Don't worry, Mississippi Master will definitely think of a way. Don't worry, you must believe in Master. The more you cause a ruckus, the angrier the pavilion master will be. Listen to me and sit down obediently. Cultivate for a period of time first. I'm scared, I'm so scared. Lu Li was fed up with Jiang Lianxue's intermittent voice. He recalled that there was a method to set up a soundproof restrictive spell in Tian Lingzi's book collection. Therefore, he first took out a luminous pearl to illuminate the room, then took out a formation stone and started to set it up. The soundproof inhibition formation was a simple one. Lu Li managed to set it up after a while. Lu Li could no longer hear any noise from the outside. He took out the ancient book and began to read with ease. Half a year was a short time for Lu Li. He could finish it after several rounds of cultivation. Even if he wasn't confined, it was likely that he would be reading books in Elder Gu's courtyard and learning about array formations and restrictions. It was quiet in the room. After a while, Lu Li calmed down. He immersed himself in the ocean of inhibition formations and once again forgot about the chaos outside. After a long time, the door was opened all of a sudden. Lu Li's soundproof inhibition formation was broken. He put away the book and looked up. It was Patriarch Gu. Buzzing, Patriarch Gu closed the door and built a soundproof inhibition formation. Looking at Lu Li, he said, You are so heartless. You seem to be having a good time here. Lu Li cupped his fists in shame and said, I am sorry to have troubled you, Master. It is my fault. It's not a problem. Patriarch Gu's eyebrows twitched. This is the fault of that crazy girl, Jiang Lianxue. You did nothing wrong. But you are out of your mind. If Long Xuesha had been a bit slower, you and Qian Huanhan would have been doomed. Ha ha, Lu Li smiled. Patriarch Long Xuesha is ranked over 300 on the list and the chief is a master craftsman. If he could not control the thunder trigger, he would not deserve to be a master craftsman. We are not the only ones who have the thunder trigger. Lady Dan has it as well. I think Long Yunhai has it as well. If Chief could not control it, how could he let Lady Dan and the others carry it around? You are a shrewd man. Patriarch Gu curled his lip. I have told Chief about you. Eventually, Long Xuesha will know as well. Of course, I am only telling him that you understand the Slayer's move and that you are my personal student. Otherwise, do you think Chief would only let you stay here for half a year? Lu Li didn't care about this. He just asked with concern, Will Master and Patriarch Long leak the information out? If the Palace of Evil Spirit finds out, I will not have a chance to get close to Chou Qianjun anymore. Don't worry. Patriarch Gu waved his hand. Many patriarchs in the hall are not trustworthy. But Chief and Patriarch Long are trustworthy. Okay. Cultivate here for half a year. Patriarch Gu took out some books from his ring and gave them to Lu Li. Study the formations and inhibition formations in these books. When you are done, I will teach you how to forge artifacts. Right? Patriarch Gu remembered something. He took out 10 rocks of icy soul from his ring and handed them to Luli. These are from the Hall of Internal Affairs. Take them. I am leaving. Patriarch Gu did not say anything to comfort Luli, but Luli felt warm. This lonely old man was truly good to him. Even though Patriarch Gu had the thought of using Luli to avenge him, Luli could feel the sincerity beneath his old-fashioned appearance. Patriarch Gu left. The inhibition formation was activated again. Luli checked to make sure that nobody was around before he turned on the inhibition formation. Putting the 10 rocks of icy soul into the wicked bead, Luli said to Blood Fairy, "Blood Fairy, here are the 10 rocks of icy soul. Absorb the energy in them and try to evolve again. Then, you will be a great help to me." "Thank you, Master." The immortal's body in the wicked bead grabbed the rocks of icy soul. Blood Fairy said in excitement, "With the 10 rocks of icy soul, I should be able to evolve again. By then, it will be easier for me to control the formations in the immortal's body. When I can control all the formations in the immortal's body, I think my abilities will be increased by 100 times. 100 times? Luli was intrigued. The immortal's body should be as strong as prefecture warriors. If so, then he should be stronger than the average mighty warriors in the divinity. With a mighty warrior as his puppet, Luli would be more confident to protect himself. Of course, Luli did not intend to rely on external forces. His own abilities were more important. He must study the Slayer's move and wind-related fundamental principle to improve his abilities. The Slayer's move. If I can get another drop of the Slayer's blood, it will be easier for me to learn it. Chapter 1308. Well. At that moment, Luli suddenly realized something. He had been having dangerous thoughts lately. He had been focused on becoming a master craftsman. Unconsciously, he had been thinking about external help, such as the immortal's body and the warlord's skeleton. He had forgotten about his own development. After he came to the divinity, the enemies he encountered were too powerful. He could not defeat them on his own. He had to rely on external help, such as the Deaf Taoist, the immortal's body, and the warlord's skeleton. Therefore, he was not in a hurry to improve his abilities. Recently, he had been focusing on forging artifacts and becoming a master craftsman. He did not care about improving his abilities. Even if he had improved, he could not compare with the immortal's body or the warlord's skeleton. Therefore, he had been slacking. He remembered his journey from the northern desert to the peak of the 9 universes. He did not rely on external help, but on his own abilities. He improved step by step and killed his way up. Strength was the foundation. Nothing else mattered. So what if he could become a master craftsman? The divinity was filled with danger. Even if he could become a patriarch of the craftsman's sect, would he be safe? Without absolute abilities, he would never be able to control his own fate. He could die at any time. In the future, I must work hard to improve my abilities. I must not neglect the essentials. Luli made up his mind. He shook his head to get rid of the distracting thoughts. He began to read books and immersed himself in his cultivation. The Valley of Relics was bustling with noise and excitement. For the first time in history, such a strange thing had happened. An average disciple fought against a core disciple, a distant relative of the chief, and the core disciple was defeated. Many people could not understand this, which was why the discussion was heated. Luli had made a grave mistake and almost caused a disaster. Yet, he was grounded for half a year. On the other hand, Jiang Lianxue, the core disciple who was always high and mighty, was not only deprived of her core disciple status, but also grounded for 5 years. Many people wondered if Luli was the chief's illegitimate son. Otherwise, why would he be treated so well? Patriarch Gu had a strange temper. Why would he protect Luli? Lu Li's name was known across the Valley of Relics. He was a man who dared to use the lightning trigger to perish together with Jiang Lianxue, Long Yunhai and the others, who dared to provoke him. Even Lady Dan, who was in closed-door cultivation, heard of this. She went to argue with the chief, but she still kept a respectful distance from Lu Li even though she was furious. After all, even the most ruthless person would be afraid of death. Lady Dan was a noble person. She would not risk her life with a low-level disciple like Lu Li. Lady Dan went to the chief and asked for Jiang Lianxue's release, but the chief did not meet her. Lady Dan angrily went to the prison to see Jiang Lianxue. However, she was turned away. The cabinet master had already ordered that Lady Dan was not allowed in. Miss Dan was so angry that she cried and ran back. She was put under house arrest by the leader. All of the disciples and elders of the God Artifact Pavilion became well-behaved. The pavilion leader was truly angry, and anyone who dared to cause trouble would be asking for it. 3 Qian Li Qian Q Qian Q Li he and long Lu Lu as Lu Lu as Li as he Lu 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 half a Lu Lu long as he time Li Lu as Lu as. Today, however, something unexpected happened. Blood Fairy had evolved once again. During this time, Blood Fairy had absorbed the energy of 7 Ice Soul Stones. After her evolution, the speed at which she absorbed the energy of the Ice Soul Stones had greatly increased. In just half a year, she had consumed 7 Ice Soul Stones and successfully evolved today. After her evolution, she sent a message to Lu Li. Then, she reached out a tentacle into Lu Li's body and into his brain. Lu Li was startled. He thought Blood Fairy was going to do something crazy. The tentacle reached into Lu Li's soul, giving off a blood-red glow. What puzzled Lu Li was that the silver dragon mark in his mind did not have any reaction. Lu Li was a bit relieved. If Bloodvine was going to attack his soul, the silver dragon mark would protect its master. Buzzing, at this moment, the inhibition formation in the room trembled. The door was opened. A disciple came in and said, "Lu Li, you can go now. Wait a minute. I have other matters to attend to. I will leave later." How could Lu Li leave at this critical moment? What if Bloodvine made a move? Lu Li waved his hand and closed his eyes. That disciple from the Hall of Law blinked, thinking he had heard it wrong. All disciples in the Chamber of Relics were like snakes and scorpions. Lu Li seemed to be addicted to living here. Did he not want to leave? Seeing that Lu Li did not move, the disciple from the Hall of Law was angered. He shouted, "Get out, get out! This is not a place for you to live. If you don't leave now, you will be locked up for another half a year." Lu Li did not reply. He took out a lightning trigger. The disciple paled in fright. Was this punk going to lose his mind again? He did not want to see another farce like what happened half a year ago. Even Jiang Lianxue was trapped by Lu Li. As a disciple from the Hall of Law, he could not stand it. The disciple's tone softened as he said, "Don't do anything rash. You can go anywhere you want. Don't do anything stupid. Get out." Lu Li shouted without opening his eyes. The disciple left in a hurry, sweating on his forehead. He cursed to himself that Lu Li was a lunatic, absolutely a lunatic. What? Lu Li's attention was no longer on the disciple from the Hall of Law. Suddenly, his soul trembled. Many pieces of information appeared in his mind, all about inhibition formations. What? Lu Li sorted through the information casually. His mind was filled with astonishment. All the information was about inhibition formations, and it was a profound understanding. Most importantly, this information had actually taken the initiative to fuse with his soul. He felt that this understanding of restrictive formations was his own. This information had forcibly fused with his soul and became his own. "Master," Blood Fairy said, "I have evolved. I have gained a new ability. I can pass on my understanding of inhibition formations to you, and you can pass on your understanding of inhibition formations to me. We can complement each other and make progress together. That is a freakish skill. Luli was surprised. He exclaimed after a moment of thought. All of a sudden, he asked, Blood Fairy, can I do this? I have a lot of books about array formations here. After I read through them, I will memorize them and then transmit them to you. Can you comprehend array formations on your own through those books? Blood Fairy said after a moment of silence. That should not be a problem. Bloodvine's gifted skills are inhibition formations and inhibition formations. It should not be difficult to learn them. Okay. Luli was overjoyed. If Blood Fairy could learn the inhibition formations on her own and then transmit the information to him, then it would be a miracle. That would mean, in the future, he would no longer have to read books on inhibition formations. He would have a free worker to do his work for him. There were 4 parts to forging artifact. The most critical part was fixing the artifact, but the most difficult part was inhibition formations and inhibition formations. To forge advanced relics, it was impossible to do so without a certain understanding of inhibition formations and inhibition formations. On the other hand, inhibition formations were profound and required a lot of time and energy to learn them. Now that he had the Bloodvine to meditate on his behalf, he could spare a lot of time to improve his combat capability. Bloodvine was talented in inhibition formations. With the help of Bloodvine, Luli could make rapid progress in forging artifacts in a short time. Chapter 1309. Luli stayed in there for half a day before he slowly walked out. Qian Huanhan had been waiting outside for a long time. If it wasn't for the fact that people were not allowed to barge in, he would have rushed in. Brother Li, what are you doing inside? Why did you only come out now? Qian Huanhan came up and asked in confusion. Luli answered casually, Nothing. I have lived here for half a year and I don't want to leave. Qian Huanhan rolled his eyes and whispered, Brother Li, I've successfully forged a divine artifact 2 days ago. My master taught me. It's just the lowest grade of divine artifact. Amazing. Luli gave Patriarch Gu a thumbs up. Even though he had Patriarch Gu to guide him, he couldn't do anything without some foundation. It seemed like Qian Huanhan had not been slacking off during this period of time. Even if it was the lowest grade of divine tool, as long as he could craft it, he could be considered as a blacksmith. Qian Huanhan scratched his head and said, Brother Li, you've been studying the formation. If you had explored the last 2 steps first, you would have been able to forge a divine artifact as well. Your talent is much better than mine. Let's not talk about this. Let's go back first. Luli waved his hand and walked toward Patriarch Gu's yard with Qian Huanhan. Back in the yard, Luli went to see Patriarch Gu at once. Patriarch Gu was still studying how to improve the thunder trigger. Seeing Luli coming back, Patriarch Gu nodded with a straight face. Qian Huanhan, continue to forge weapons. Strive to forge divine weapons on your own and become a real weapon forger. Elder Gu waved his hand to dismiss Qian Huanhan. After he left, Patriarch Gu asked, Luli, have you made any progress after staying in there for half a year? Yes. Luli thought of the Bloodvine. He wanted to give Patriarch Gu a heads up. Otherwise, Patriarch Gu would be shocked if Luli progressed too fast. Luli said, I have made some progress in inhibition formations. I am trying to figure out the 2 steps of artifact spirit and artifact stabilization. After a while, I should be able to try to forge a divine artifact. Okay, then take a look at these books. If there's anything you don't understand, feel free to look for me. Patriarch Gu nodded and gave Luli more than a dozen books about artifact spirits and stabilizing artifact. Luli took it over and thanked Patriarch Gu. He was about to leave when Patriarch Gu remembered something and said, Right, in half a year, There will be a tournament of craftsmen. Do you want to go and broaden your horizons? If you want to go, I can help you ask for a spot from the pavilion master. A competition of tens of thousands of craftsmen? Luli asked with a frown. Is it a gathering of craftsmen? To be more precise, it's a grand gathering of the younger generation of blacksmiths. Elder Gu explained. It's organized by the craftsmen's sect. It's held once every 10 years, and all young craftsmen can participate. If one could refine a good divine artifact, or set up a strange formation, or forge an interesting artifact embryo, or anything related to artifact forging, as long as one's performance was good, he would be rewarded by the craftsman's sect. This time, it's also a divine material trading convention, and the old fellows will go there to exchange pointers and exchange what they need. Oh! Luli understood now. He shook his head after some thoughts and said, I don't think I will go. I have just learned how to forge artifacts. I will be a disgrace to my master if I go. It's better for me to stay at home and meditate. When the next Myriad Craftsman tournament comes, I can go and fight for master's glory. Sure, go ahead. Patriarch Gu knew that given Luli and Qian Huanhan's abilities, it was pointless for them to go. The best they could do was broaden their horizons. Since Luli did not want to go, Patriarch Gu would not force him. Luli came back and chatted with Qian Huanhan for a while before he went back to his room. Luli put aside the books Patriarch Gu gave him and took out Tian Lingzi's collection of books. He began to read them one by one. Previously, it would take Luli a long time to read a book. After all, he had to study the principles in the books. But now, Luli did not have to think about anything. He just had to memorize every word and then send them to the Bloodvine so that she could study them herself. This was so efficient. Luli could read 10 books in 2 hours and 100 in a day. His soul was strong now. He had a photographic memory and he could read quickly. At this rate, it would take him less than a year to finish the tens of thousands of books. Luli read for 4 to 5 days and read hundreds of books. He told the Bloodvine to send the information over and then let the Bloodvine try to study them. If the Bloodvine could learn them and then pass them on to her, Luli would not have to worry about anything else. He would leave the inhibition formations to the Bloodvine. In just one day, Bloodvine's voice rang in Luli's mind. Master, I have learned all the knowledge you have given me. Everything is fine. Good. Luli was excited. He continued to read quickly to commit the knowledge in the books to memory. Then, he would send the information to the Bloodvine for her to study. The knowledge on inhibition formations that the Bloodvine learned quickly would be sent back to Luli. It would be integrated into Luli's soul knowledge so that he could learn it himself. It was as if Luli's soul already had this kind of knowledge. This was fast. Luli absorbed the knowledge in the collection left by Tian Lingzi like crazy. He almost forgot to eat or sleep. It was only because his soul was exhausted that he stopped to take a nap. He had been cultivating divine energy. At this stage, he no longer needed to eat. He could replenish his energy by absorbing Xian energy in heaven and earth. For several months after he came back, he hardly went out. Patriarch Gu only called him once. He went to see Patriarch Gu and spent the rest of his time in his room, reading. During the 5 months, Luli had read more than 10,000 books. Including the thousands he read before, he had read more than half of Tian Lingzi's collection. During this time, he had been digesting the knowledge passed down by the Bloodvine every day. He believed that he might not be proficient in forging artifacts, but he had made great progress in inhibition formations. At least, the average core disciples did not have a deeper understanding of inhibition formations, let alone the Patriarch. The Bloodvine was gifted in inhibition formations. If Luli were to study the books, he would not be able to learn them without years or even decade. Luli could learn them almost instantly with the Bloodvine. During this time, the Bloodvine's ability in inhibition formations had improved greatly. It was a win-win situation for Lu Li and her. Forging artifacts was a tedious task. The main reason was that the knowledge of inhibition formations and inhibition formations was too vast. Not even a master craftsman could say that he was proficient in any of them. The divinity had existed for tens of millions of years. Many ancestors had created various inhibition formations. To master the basics of inhibition formations would take years. If one was not talented enough, he or she could not achieve much even after studying for a lifetime. Lu Li was talented in this regard. That being said, the Bloodvine only spent 5 months to finish the journey that would have taken him years or even decades. Buzzing, when Lu Li was exhausted and ready to take a rest, the inhibition formation in his room was triggered. Lu Li opened the door. Qian Huanhan rushed in and said excitedly, "Brother Li, the competition of craftsmen is about to begin. I just heard that many talents in forging artifacts will be there. Lady Dan will be there as well. Brother Li, can I ask my master to get us 2 spots?" "Not interested. I am not going." Lu Li waved his hand. Patriarch Gu had told him about this 5 months ago. Though he had made great progress in inhibition formations over the past 5 months, he did not want to attract too much attention, nor did he want to participate in such boring competitions. Chapter 13:10. Lu Li was still not interested. But since Qian Huanhan was so excited, Lu Li asked casually, "Who is it? Tell me." Qian Huanhan rubbed his hands. "You know the list of beauties, right?" Lu Li shrugged. "I have heard of it. Is it from the Cabinet of Mystery?" "Yes." Qian Huanhan nodded. "The list of beauties only records those under 100 years old, and they are all unmarried. There are only 100 spots. Lady Dan is on the list of beauties, but she is at the bottom. But there are more than a dozen who are in the top 50, and one of them is in the top 10. Oh? Who is it? What is her background?" Lu Li was intrigued. It was not that he was interested in beauties. It was just that Lady Dan was beautiful and had a high status. It was said that she was talented in forging artifacts. How come her ranking was so low? It was said that one of them was in the top 10. What kind of heaven-shaking beauty would that be? "Her name is Dongfang Ning." Qian Huanhan's eyes glowed. "I don't know her background. Her background is not on the list of beauties. But she must be from a superforce if she is number 8 on the list of beauties." Qian Huanhan continued with excitement. "This Dongfang Ning is not only number 8 on the list of beauties, but she is also in the top 30,000 on the list of beauties. She is very strong, but she is only in her 20s. Because she was going to participate in the Battle of 10,000 Craftsmen, the Battle of 10,000 Craftsmen was especially lively. Countless geniuses from the divine world had come. Over half of the young masters on the list of talents are here, and the powerful warriors on the list of beauties are here. This is the most lively competition in the past 10,000 years. She is in her 20s and she is ranked in the top 30,000 on the list of beauties? Lu Li was surprised. He did not care about Dongfang Ning's ranking on the list of beauties, but he was shocked that she could be among the top 30,000 in the list of beauties at the age of 20. Emperor of Heaven Reverse was only in the top 70,000 on the list of beauties, and Yen Tiangang was 80,000. Lu Shi, and Holy Princess were top disciples of the 72 sects, but they were ranked hundreds of thousands. This Dongfang Ning had become a mighty warrior in the divinity at the age of 20, and she was about to become a super mighty warrior? How amazing was this? Her background must be more powerful than the 72 sects. Could it be the top young mistress of the 4 super forces? Apart from this, Lu Li couldn't think of any other force that could produce such a talented warrior. His abilities were incredible. What made Lu Li even more curious was, Dongfang Ning was so powerful and had such a powerful background, but he was only ranked number 8 on the beauty list. How powerful would the other beauties be? How scary would the background be? It seemed like the divine world was not as simple as it seemed on the surface. There must be many hidden and mysterious forces. Perhaps the 72 divine sects were nothing in the divine world. Luli was suddenly interested. He took the initiative to ask, "Do you have the beauty list? I want to see the top 10 beauties." I thought Brother Li didn't like women. Qian Huanhan smiled wretchedly and said, "I can recite the top 10. The first one is called Muzishi. Her background is unknown and all her information is confidential. The second is Pei. Her information is also confidential. The third is Inqingxi. Her information is still confidential." "What did you say?" Lu Li's eyes widened when he heard this. He asked in a deep voice, "What's the name of number 3? Inqingxi. What is it?" Qian Huanhan asked in surprise. When Qian Huanhan wrote down the name, Lu Li was filled with disbelief. The name of Inqingxi on the beauty list was the same as that of the blind lady he knew. "Do you have a portrait of Inqingxi? Any information will do," Lu Li asked in a hurry. Unfortunately, Qian Huanhan shook his head. He told Lu Li that the Cabinet of Mystery had hidden all information about Inqingxi. There was no information about her. "Is it a coincidence?" Lu Li frowned. Inqingxi was beautiful, but she was the blind lady, which would make her lose points. What was more, Inqingxi was not strong. Even if she came to the divinity, she should be an average immortal. Right. Lu Li remembered something and asked, "Is Inqingxi on the list of divinities?" "Of course," Qian Huanhan said with certainty. "Those who can be on the beauty list must be on the list of divinities. The beauty list takes into account all kinds of situations. I think Inqingxi is ranked around 30,000 on the list of beauty, similar to Dongfang Ning. She is number 3 on the beauty list. I think she has a more powerful background." "Then it must be someone with the same name." Lu Li nodded. The last time he saw Inqingxi, she was only at the Earth Immortal realm. How many years had passed? Even if the crippled Zen master was from the divinity and brought Inqingxi to the divinity to be trained, it would be impressive if she could become an immortal on the list. It was impossible for her to become a mighty warrior in the divinity so soon. There was one more thing. Inqingxi on the beauty list must have a powerful background. If so, how could she have grown up in the Central Imperial Universe? Inqingxi was adopted by the crippled Zen master when she was born. She grew up in the Zen Valley. Go on. Who else is on the beauty list? Lu Li put the matter of Inqingxi aside. The divinity was a vast place. It was almost impossible to meet them. Qian Huanhan continued after a pause. Number 4 on the beauty list, Xiao Yufei. Lu Li had never heard of any of the other names, and he was not interested. When Qian Huanhan named the top 10, Lu Li had an idea. He asked, "Qian Huanhan, have you heard of the name Lu Ling? On the list of divinities, beauty list, and talent list? Have you seen this name?" Lu Ling? Qian Huanhan blinked. Then, his eyes glowed. "Brother Li, you know Lu Ling? She is the number 2 on the list of talents." "What?" Lu Li was just asking. He did not know that Lu Ling's name was on the list. He was excited. He grabbed Qian Huanhan and asked, "Do you have detailed information about Lu Ling? Let me see." "No," Qian Huanhan shook his head. "Lu Ling's information is confidential. We don't even know her gender. The only thing I know is that she is ranked over 10,000 on the list of divinities and is about to become a super mighty warrior in the divinity." Over 10,000? Another person with the same name? Lu Li was confused. In the past, Lu Ling was not particularly strong, and it had not been long since she went missing. How could she be ranked over 10,000 on the list of divinities? Also, according to Lu Li's speculation, Lu Ling should have been taken back to her family. In that case, she would no longer be called Lu Ling. She would have changed her name. In other words, this Lu Ling was not his sister. Right. Qian Huanhan remembered something and said, I think Lu Ling is going to the competition of craftsmen. I heard from some disciples that you know someone called Lu Ling, are you sure? Lu Li's eyes glowed. If Lu Ling was going, then whether she was his sister or not, he should go. I will go and find out. Qian Huanhan left quickly. An hour later, he came back and said with certainty, Lu Yun said that Lu Ling will be there. Half of the top 10 on the list will be there. It will be a gathering of talent. Then let's go as well. Chapter 13:11. The Tournament of Craftsmen was famous in the divinity. It was a grand gathering for craftsmen. Every time, many talented craftsmen would be discovered. There were many craftsmen in the divinity. Most of them were in craftsmen's sect or chamber of relics that specialized in forging artifacts. But there were some craftsmen from other forces as well. Some craftsmen who were unwilling to join a sect or wanted to study on their own would go to the tournament of craftsmen. The tournament could make many young craftsmen stand out and become famous. In this way, many forces would secretly recruit these craftsmen. The tournament of craftsmen was not just a tournament. It was also a trade contest of materials, and older generation craftsmen could communicate with each other. The tournament of craftsmen was supposed to be a grand gathering for craftsmen. This time, Dongfang Ning and many other beauties on the list were here, which attracted many young masters from famous families. Then, it triggered a chain reaction. Many people went to get close to those young masters. More and more young people were attracted. The tournament of craftsmen became a grand gathering for young talent. The divinity was a vast place. If it were not for certain reasons, it would be hard for those talented disciples to gather together. The tournament of craftsmen was one of the reasons. Those talented disciples would take this opportunity to make friends, to show off, or to chase after beauties. The tournament of craftsmen had attracted more and more attention. Qian Huanhan went to look for Elder Gu. The latter did not hesitate and agreed readily. Qian Huanhan was confused. Why was Patriarch Gu so easy to talk to? He did not know that it was because of Lu Li. Patriarch Gu rarely turned down Lu Li's requests. Patriarch Gu had been to the tournament of craftsmen many times. It was indeed a grand gathering for craftsmen. Patriarch Gu believed it was good for Lu Li and the others to broaden their horizons. After all, there would be no danger in the city of craftsmen, which was the base camp of craftsmen's sect. The Chamber of Relics was quite lively recently because many disciples wanted to go to the city of craftsmen. Even if they did not have the chance to perform, it would be good for them to broaden their horizons. The number of participants was limited. The city of craftsmen was at the center of the divinity. To go there, one must go through the office of spacetime. Teleportation in the office of spacetime was costly. No matter how rich the Chamber of Relics was, they could not afford to bring too many disciples. Soon, the list came out. This time, only 10 people from the Chamber of Relics would go. Long Xuesha, the most powerful warrior of the Chamber of Relics, would lead the team in person. Lady Dan, Long Yunhai, and Long Wentian were all qualified to go. Even if Jiang Lianxue were not locked up. What upset many disciples of the Chamber of Relics was that Qian Huanhan and Lu Li had gone as well. Qian Huanhan was the core disciple of Patriarch Gu. It was normal that he was qualified to go. Who was Lu Li? How could he go? Last time, the matter was so big, but the sentence was so light. How could an ordinary disciple like him be qualified to participate in the 10,000 craftsman tournament? Some of the core disciples were dissatisfied and went to find the elders, but they were all rejected. The elders only said a few words, and those disciples all quieted down. This name list was decided by the pavilion master, and those who disagreed could go and argue with the pavilion master. The pavilion master's words had always carried enormous weight. Since the name list had been decided, no one could change it. Many disciples could only sulk in secret and curse Luli for taking away their spots. Lady Dan was not convinced as well. It was fine for the others to go, but Luli had to go as well? This upset her. Seeing Luli reminded her of Jiang Lianxue, who was still locked up. She clenched her teeth in hatred. She tried to reason with the pavilion master, but the pavilion master didn't explain anything. Instead, he asked her to let go of her grudge and treat Luli better. Luli paid no attention to the uproar outside. He continued to read in his room. Qian Huanhan had been staying in the Hall of Artifact Forging all day, trying to be more proficient in forging artifacts. If there was a chance, he would like to show off his skills at the 10,000 Craftsman tournament. Half a month later, Luli and Qian Huanhan were both called out by Patriarch Gu. There were only 5 or 6 days until the 10,000 Craftsman tournament. It was time to set off. Luli and Qian Huanhan took a bath. Qian Huanhan put on the white robe of a core disciple. His hair was combed neatly. He looked handsome and elegant. Luli only had on a cyan robe. The only eye-catching thing about him was his white hair. Other than that, he looked just like an average disciple. "Let's go." Elder Gu glanced at the two of them and walked out coldly. When he reached the small square, Long Xuesha, Long Yunhai, and Long Wentian happened to walk out with a few elders and Miss Dan. Luli and Qian Huanhan bowed at once. When Luli bowed to Lady Dan, she snorted and turned her face away. She did not show any respect. Long Yunhai and Long Wentian were shrewd enough to greet Qian Huanhan and Luli as if nothing had happened. "Let's go." Apparently, Long Xuesha paid no attention to Luli. He stepped into the teleportation formation first. Amidst the passionate gazes of many disciples, the 10 of them were teleported away. They were teleported to a nearby city, the Sunset City. There was a branch of the Spacetime office here. To go to the Divinity Craftsman City, they must go through the Spacetime office. Otherwise, it would take them more than a decade to teleport from city to city. Lady Dan and the others seemed to be frequent visitors to the Sunset City. They followed them in silence. Luli threw a few glances and then turned to Qian Huanhan. Qian Huanhan did not look around either. It seemed that he did not care about the Sunset City at all. When they walked into the Spacetime office, Qian Huanhan did not pay much attention as well, which made Luli suspicious. It seemed that Qian Huanhan was not as simple as he appeared to be. He must have some background. A patriarch went to talk to the Spacetime office. In a moment, a chief steward of the Spacetime office led them to a huge altar. The altar had a radius of more than 1,000 feet. Luli had mastered inhibition formations recently. He used psychic power to check the patterns at the bottom of the altar. Still, he felt dizzy. Please bear with it. This time, the teleportation is a bit far. Those with weak souls will find it hard to adapt. But don't worry. The Spacetime office will never have a problem. You will not be harmed. The chief steward looked at Luli, Qian Huanhan, Long Yunhai, and the others. Dragon Blood Fiend and Patriarch Gu were powerful souls and would be fine. But Luli and the other souls were too weak. They would feel uncomfortable. Lady Dan and the others seemed to be aware of this. They nodded emotionlessly. Luli took a soul-related pellet and nodded to the chief steward. "Activate the teleportation formation." Seeing that everyone was ready, the chief steward nodded to the 4 old warriors behind him. The 4 of them poured out Xian energy to the statues on the 4 sides of the altar. Soon, the patterns at the bottom of the altar lit up. Streaks of lightning danced around the altar. Luli and the others could see nothing but white light. They disappeared into the altar. Buzzing, above the Spacetime office, a ray of white light rose up to the sky and lingered for a long time. Okay, the fish has taken the bait. In a castle in the Sunset City, an old man in a black robe looked at the column of light and nodded. He said to someone behind him, "Send a message to Patriarch Ling, tell him that Luli is at the City of Divinity. Let him carry out the plan." Chapter 13:12. This was the most uncomfortable teleportation Luli had ever experienced. He felt his soul was being torn apart. His stomach was churning. Every pore on his body was uncomfortable. He did not know how long he had been teleporting. It might have been a day or two at most, but he felt he had been teleporting for years. Every second and every minute was torturous. Bang! Finally, he felt he had landed. His legs were weak. He dropped to his knees and began to vomit. His face was twisted. He was in great pain. Long Yunhai, Lady Dan, Qian Huanhan, and the others felt sick as well. Their faces were ghastly pale. That being said, all of them managed to stand on their feet. They did not drop to their knees or throw up like Luli. Luli, are you okay? Qian Huanhan recovered after a while. He went over to help Luli. Patriarch Gu was worried, but he could not show it. Lady Dan sneered at Luli, seeing how embarrassed he was. Long Yunhai and Long Wentian did not show it, but there was a hint of mockery in their eyes. Long Xuesha stood there emotionlessly, waiting for Luli to recover. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, Luli stopped vomiting. After the time for another incense stick to burn, Luli finally recovered a bit. He was still pale. He staggered to his feet, cupped his fists and said, "Guys, I am almost done. Sorry for wasting your time. Let's go." Long Xuesha waved his hand and led the others forward. Luli finally had the time to observe the surroundings. They were at the foot of a huge mountain, and they were walking toward it. The mountain was shrouded in mist. Many sceneries could be vaguely seen. Luli could faintly see the buildings on the mountainside and the peak. Qian Huanhan had never been to the City of Divinity. He asked Patriarch Gu with curiosity, "Master, is the City of Divinity at the peak?" "Yes." Patriarch Gu answered with a straight face, "The City of Divinity is at the peak. But there is a fort below the city. Later, you will have to stay at the fort. Only those who pass the preliminary test can enter the City of Divinity." Test? Qian Huanhan and Luli were shocked. Qian Huanhan asked, "Master, what test?" "Forging artifacts, of course." Long Yunhai explained on behalf of Patriarch Gu, "The City of Divinity is a holy land for forging artifacts. Only warriors on the list or artifact craftsmen are qualified to come here." Blacksmith. Luli was getting more and more upset. He had never forged a relic before, so he could not become a craftsman. Did that mean he could not go to the City of Divinity? Then how could he meet that Lu Ling and make sure if she was his sister? "Don't worry." Patriarch Gu's voice suddenly came to Luli's mind. "You can be Qian Huanhan's servant and assist him in forging artifacts. Qian Huanhan can refine divine artifact. You can follow Qian Huanhan into the craftsman's sect." Luli was slightly relieved. Long Yunhai continued, "Actually, there is not much point in entering the City of Gods. The real tournament is in the inner city. It is more difficult to enter the inner city." Lady Dan smiled proudly and said, "You can stay in the outer city if you can't. I can represent the artifact pavilion." Elder Gu glanced at the crowd and said, "It's enough for all of you to do your best. You are here to see the world, so don't cause trouble in the city. Otherwise, we won't be able to protect you." As they spoke, they arrived at the foot of the mountain. There was a huge winding mountain road here that was completely made of white jade. At the bottom of the mountain road, there were groups of soldiers in red armor guarding it. "Lord Long, Lord Gu, greetings!" A middle-aged man with strong energy among the warriors greeted Long Xuesha and Patriarch Gu from the distance. Clearly, he was an old acquaintance. "Commander Feng." Long Xuesha forced a smile and exchanged some pleasantries. Patriarch Gu and the other patriarchs followed him. That Commander Feng exchanged some pleasantries. Then, he turned to Lady Dan and said with a smile, "I haven't seen you for years. Ruodan, you are more beautiful. Yunhai is nice as well." "Thank you, Grandpa Feng." Lady Dan knew Commander Feng. Long Yunhai came and bowed as well. Lu Li, Qian Huanhan, and the others bowed. Long Xuesha exchanged some pleasantries again. Commander Feng asked one of his men to lead them up the mountain. Pay attention to the inhibition formations on this path. Patriarch Gu's voice came to Lu Li's mind again. Do not underestimate this path. When the inhibition formations are activated, not even the super mighty warriors in the divinity can go up. This path is called the path of supernatural beings. Not even supernatural beings can go up. Lu Li was taken aback. He used psychic power to check. Sure enough, the road was filled with formations and lines. The inhibition formations were complicated and abstruse. On both sides of the path were thick clouds. Lu Li could not see clearly. He believed that the entire mountain was filled with inhibition formations. Going around at random could lead to a tragic end. Guided by the warriors of the craftsman's sect, they climbed up the mountain in peace. Lu Li had been trying to sense the inhibition formations. Before he knew it, he had arrived at a city. The mountain was halfway up the mountain. Looking up into the sky, Lu Li could vaguely see a corner of a larger city. When they entered the city, they found it lively. People were coming and going. Powerful warriors could be seen everywhere. Brother Li, take them with you. We will go to the city of craftsmen's sect now. Inside the city, Long Xuesha threw a glance to Lady Dan and the others. Then, he said solemnly, listen up. Violence is strictly forbidden in the city. Listen to Patriarch Li. Anyone who causes trouble will be grounded for 1,000 years. Chapter 13:13. Patriarch Li went to negotiate again. It was normal for some artificers to bring servants with them. Soon, Lu Li and Qian Huanhan were sent to a hall of forging artifact. Brother Li, what are you doing? Don't involve me in your quarrel with Lady Dan. Qian Huanhan said with a frown as soon as they entered the hall of forging artifacts. Qian Huanhan knew what he was capable of. He could only make average relics. He would not be able to enter the inner city. Would he have to kowtow to Lady Dan every time? Don't worry, I have some. I can help you enter the inner city of Divine Craftsman City. Lu Li patted Qian Huanhan's shoulder. He must enter the inner city and meet that Lu Ling. He could not rely on himself because he did not know how to seal artifact spirits and stabilize artifact. Of course, Qian Huanhan would not be able to do it alone. That being said, if Lu Li and Qian Huanhan worked together, the chances of success would be higher. Because Lu Li was skilled in inhibition formations. He believed that the formations he carved could make Qian Huanhan's relics outstanding. In this way, it would be more likely for them to enter the inner city. Somehow, Qian Huanhan felt relieved looking into Lu Li's confident eyes. He said nothing else. He turned on the stove and began to forge artifact. Lu Li pretended to help him. Qian Huanhan's skills had improved. He was more experienced. He used some simple materials in the hall to make a saber. It took him less than an hour to finish the embryo of such a simple relic. Then came the carving of formations. Lu Li did not help him. If Qian Huanhan could not even make a simple relic, then he would be useless. The carving of formations was successful. Qian Huanhan took out an artifact spirit bead and released a low-level artifact spirit. Qian Huanhan sealed the artifact spirit in a special way. Then came the stabilization. Lu Li observed Qian Huanhan's methods carefully. Qian Huanhan must have made many relics recently. Lu Li was relieved. It's done. About 2 hours later, Qian Huanhan's eyes glowed. Then, the patterns on the relic glowed faintly. Lu Li used psychic power to check and nodded. The relic seemed to be low level, but it was a relic nonetheless. They had passed the test. When Lu Li and Qian Huanhan left, Lady Dan and the others were already waiting outside. Qian Huanhan handed over the divine artifact and it was accepted. He gave Qian Huanhan a red jade talisman and Lu Li a light red jade talisman. Let's go. Elderly waved his hand and everyone walked out of the castle towards a teleportation portal. If he wanted to go to the Divine Craftsman City, he could only use the transmission array. It was impossible to fly up or walk up. Arriving at the teleportation formation, Elderly checked everyone's identity jade tokens and took out one. Everyone entered the teleportation array, and with a flash of white light, everyone arrived at a super large plaza. This statue, as soon as Lu Li came out, he was attracted by a huge statue in the plaza. It was a statue of an old man with an old-fashioned face. The statue was very lifelike. If it were not for the fact that there was no sign of life, Lu Li would have thought it was a giant. This is the statue of the first sect leader of the Craftsman's sect, known as the Craftsman Ancestral God. Seeing that Lu Li and Qian Huanhan were staring at the statue, Patriarch Li explained. Then, Patriarch Li warned, "Do not be rude to the statue or else you will be killed." Lu Li and Qian Huanhan bowed to the statue with respect. Master craftsmen must be respected. Patriarch Li nodded and asked, "Do you want to hang around in the city or go to the inner city? Don't force yourself. You are young. When you are better at forging artifacts, you can go to the competition." Among them, only Lady Dan was good at forging artifacts. She had reached the level of a master craftsman. Long Yunhai and the others were not good enough. As for Lu Li and Qian Huanhan, Patriarch Li was satisfied that they could make relics since they had just started. There was a word fight in the competition of craftsmen. Since there were no talented ones in this generation, the Chamber of Relics did not care. In a few decades, when Lady Dan grew up and became a master craftsman, the Chamber of Relics would pay more attention to her. Therefore, this time, Patriarch Li was just bringing Lady Dan, Lu Li, and the others to see the world. Otherwise, Patriarch Dragonblood, Patriarch Gu, and the others would have followed them. Patriarch Li was ordered to lead the group. Naturally, he did not want to waste too much time. He would rather Lu Li and the others stay in the outer city. Lady Dan would not give up the chance to have a competition. She frowned. "I want to go to the inner city. The outer city is boring. The inner city is the real fun. I want to take the test." Long Yunhai and the others naturally wanted to go to the inner city. Whether or not they could go in was another matter. At the very least, they had to try. The inner city must be crowded with famous people. All kinds of young ladies would be dazzled. Lu Li did not want to stay in the outer city. Though the outer city seemed to be crowded and there were many interesting places, Lu Li was not in the mood to go there. They all decided to go to the inner city. Patriarch Li had no choice but to lead them to a huge castle. What? After a few steps, Long Yunhai suddenly stopped. His eyes lit up as he said, "She's here? Who is it?" Lady Dan glanced over. Soon, she grinned. "It is Sister Jingya and that jerk Lu Shi." Lu Li heard two familiar names. He glanced over and saw two familiar faces. It was Holy Princess Lu Shi, another young lady, and a young master. "What? Brother Hai, Holy Princess is coming over." Long Wentian was excited. Holy Princess was on the list of most beautiful women. Because of her unique, profound meaning of life, she ranked 15th on the list. She was the goddess of many men's dreams. Last time, Long Yunhai went to talk to Holy Princess, but she was indifferent. Unexpectedly, this time, she came over. Sister Jingyao must be here for me." Lady Dan raised her head with pride. But she turned to Lu Shi. In the southern divinity, Lu Shi was famous for being a playboy. He was good at hooking up with other men's wives and never flirted with young ladies or young ladies. That being said, the more attractive Lu Shi was to young ladies, the more interested Lady Dan was in him. Ha ha ha. Lu Shi laughed from the distance. His laughter was filled with kindness. Even Lady Dan was fascinated by his unrestrained manner. Holy Princess smiled before she said anything. She was cold and detached. Deep in her bones, she would keep others at a distance. For the first time, she was smiling. Long Yunhai and Long Wentian could not believe their eyes. Lu Shi and Holy Princess walked over in strides. Long Yunhai hurried to greet them. Lady Dan walked over shyly. She blushed and stared at Lu Shi. Holy Princess, here we meet again. Long Yunhai cupped his fists. Lady Dan smiled sweetly as well. Sister Jingya, young Master Lu, before they could finish their conversation, they saw Holy Princess and Lu Shi walking past them toward Qian Huanhan and Lu Li. The two and Long Wentian were taken aback. They looked back in surprise. Lu Shi hugged Lu Li tightly and patted his back affectionately. You punk, I knew you would not die. Holy Princess bowed and said with a smile, Young Master Lu, nice to see you again. Long Yunhai, Lady Dan, and Long Wentian exchanged a look. They were all dumbfounded. Chapter 13-14. Disciples of Chamber of Relics had always been popular, especially since Lady Dan was the granddaughter of the Chief of Chamber of Relics. In Southern Divinity, most forces would show respect to her. Long Yunhai's status was unique as well. Long Xueshao was the most powerful warrior in Chamber of Relics and a master craftsman. His status in Chamber of Relics was second only to the Chief of Chamber of Relics. Today, Holy Princess and Lu Shi were humiliated in public. Holy Princess and Lu Shi had ignored them and greeted Lu Li directly. It just so happened that Lady Dan said confidently that Lu Shi and Holy Princess were here for her. Lady Dan's face was burning with shame and anger. Not only did she hate Lu Li to the core, but she also had some doubts. What had Lu Li done to deserve such preferential treatment from Lu Shi and Holy Princess? Lu Shi was an oddity at Southern Divinity. His grandpa Lu Tianqing was a famous lunatic. Nobody dared to mess with Lu Shi. Therefore, Lu Shi had always been a lone wolf. As for Holy Princess, she was the only Holy Princess of the Palace of Snow Mountain and the next master of the Palace of Snow Mountain. Her understanding of the fundamental principle of life was rare and unique. It was said that the Hall of Life and Death valued her highly. How could two people with special identities treat Lu Li with special respect? Who was Lu Li? He was a disciple at the bottom of the Chamber of Relics. He had no abilities and could only be at the lowest level in forging artifact. Why did Lu Shi hug him so affectionately? Why did he let Holy Princess smile for him? Lady Dan and Long Yunhai did not understand. Neither did the other young master and young lady with Lu Shi and Holy Princess. Holy Princess rarely smiled. If they were not real friends, it would be hard for her to talk to them, let alone smile. Lu Li was troubled. He had been trying to keep a low profile. Unexpectedly, he ran into Lu Shi and Holy Princess. How could he survive in Chamber of Relics after they gave him such a blow? If the Palace of Evil Spirit noticed him, how could he kill Chou Qianjun? But what was done was done. Lu Li had no other choice. He hugged Lu Shi and whispered, I don't want to stand out. Cover for me. After parting ways with Lu Shi, Lu Li cupped his fists to Holy Princess and said, Nice to meet you, Holy Princess. Lu Li's salute and his distant tones surprised Holy Princess. Lu Shi winked at her. The clever Holy Princess understood at once. She nodded without saying anything else. Lu Shi turned around and said to Lady Dan with a smile, Lady Dan, long time no see. You have become more beautiful. Brother Yunhai, nice to meet you. Ha, Brother Lu met us once and we had a good chat. I didn't expect you to join the Chamber of Relics. Holy Maiden Xue nodded. Greetings, little sister Ruodan. Greetings, young Master Yunhai Wentian. Pellet Realm and Long Yunhai looked at Lu Li with suspicion, but said nothing. Lady Dan nodded to Lu Shi coldly and then bowed to Holy Princess before she asked, Sister Jingya, do you know Lu Li? Yes. Holy girl Shui admitted it openly. She thought for a while and said, "Young Master Lu helped me and young Master Lu once. We owe him a favor." "He helped you? Can he help you?" Long Wentian looked at Lu Li in surprise. To him, Lu Li was a puny ant at the bottom, while Holy Princess and Lu Shi were the dragons and phoenixes in the sky. An ant could actually help a true dragon and a phoenix? This was the biggest joke in the world. Long Wentian's expression upset Holy Princess and Lu Shi. Long Wentian's questioning of Lu Li was a slap to their faces. Lu Shi sneered. "Brother Lu cannot help us." "Long Wentian, do you think you can?" "Ha ha." With that said, Lu Shi did not look at Lady Dan, Long Yunhai and Long Wentian. He cupped his fists to Lu Li and Patriarch Li. Holy Princess nodded to him as well. They turned around and left. "Brother Li, you are impressive." Qian Huanhan praised Lu Li for what he had just witnessed. Lu Li shrugged but did not say anything. He ignored the angry and suspicious looks from Long Wentian, Lady Dan, and Long Yunhai. "Let's go." Elder Li looked on coldly from the side and didn't say anything. Everyone continued forward and entered a castle. The castle was large and crowded. Many warriors in craftsmen's robes could be seen. They must be trying to enter the inner city. Patriarch Li went to negotiate while the others waited in silence. From time to time, people would come over to greet them. Most of them were trying to get close to Lady Dan. A small number of them were talking to Long Yunhai and Long Wentian. Naturally, nobody came to Qian Huanhan and Lu Li. That being said, those were not important people. They were not as prestigious as Holy Princess and Lu Shi. After the time for several incense sticks to burn, Patriarch Li came back. He glanced at them and said, "It is done. Later, you can go and forge artifacts. You can only use the materials in the hall and hand in the relics after you make them. Craftsman's sect will have a steward to evaluate you. You can enter the inner city if you pass the evaluation." "Pass?" Long Yunhai was confused. "What do I have to do to pass?" "There is no standard." Patriarch Li shook his head. "Of course, if you can make a supreme relic, you will pass. If you can make a high-quality relic or a high-difficulty one, you will pass as well. In any case, do your best to refine it. If you can refine a good divine artifact, it definitely won't be buried. This time, you only have 4 hours. Be careful." Lu Li put on a solemn expression. It seemed that this was going to be a difficult task. A high-quality relic. Qian Huanhan would not be able to make one in a few years. Lady Dan walked forward with pride. Long Yunhai and Long Wentian followed her, gritting their teeth. Qian Huanhan looked at Lu Li with uneasiness. Lu Li patted his shoulder and walked forward with the others. They were led to a small hall. Lu Li checked to make sure that no one was spying on them. He said with a smile, "Don't feel pressured. Just do your best." Qian Huanhan nodded. He turned on the stove and began to work. This time, he wanted to make a bow. This was more difficult but more spectacular. "No," Lu Li shook his head and said, "just a simple sword or saber. You will fail easily when making a bow. Just pick something you are good at." Lu Li could tell what Qian Huanhan was thinking. He stopped him in time. Qian Huanhan could not pass the test given his abilities. If he failed, he would not have another chance if he did not have enough time. All right, Qian Huanhan trusted Lu Li. He chose to make a sword. This time, he was meticulous. It took him an hour to make a perfect prototype. This is a good prototype. When the prototype was ready, Lu Li took it over and nodded. "You have improved a lot." Qian Huanhan was not delighted. Instead, he paced up and down in the room with a frown. What formation should I put? Should he engrave the spirit gathering, spirit vibrating, and spirit explosion arrays? However, if he were to inscribe all 3 of these spirit designs, it would be very easy to fail. If I fail, the perfection of the prototype will be affected. I will have to make a new one, and I may not have enough time. Why don't I carve spirit gathering and spirit storage spirit formations? But that won't be very eye-catching. What a headache, what kind of spirit formation should I carve? Qian Huanhan paced up and down in the room, talking to himself. He had mastered many formations, but it was difficult to put several at the same time. If he only put some simple formations, he would not be able to pass the test and enter the inner city. What? A moment later, Qian Huanhan noticed that the prototype in Lu Li's hand was glowing. Qian Huanhan used psychic power to check. What he saw shocked him, as if he had seen a ghost. Because Chapter 13-15. Qian Huanhan thought he had made a mistake. He walked over and took the prototype from Lu Li's hand. He checked it carefully. He was even more shocked. Brother Li, did you really do this? He asked in disbelief. Lu Li smiled. As a matter of fact, he did not want to be too high-profile. Otherwise, he could have put 6 or 7 inhibition formations in. If Blood Fairy could do it, she could change the inhibition formations and make the relic more spectacular. Lu Li waved his hand. I have made some progress in inhibition formations. I don't know how to seal artifact spirits and stabilize the artifact. It is up to you whether we can go to the inner city or not. You have made some progress? Qian Huanhan pouted. You are a freak. How long have we been in the Chamber of Relics? I don't think even Lady Dan can put so many inhibition formations in. You have reached the level of a divine craftsman. All right. Stop flattering me. Lu Li said solemnly. You must remember that you are the one who put the inhibition formations and you are the one who made the relic. I am just your servant. If others find out, I will be in big trouble. I cannot be exposed. Do you understand? Qian Huanhan frowned. Since Lu Li was being serious, Qian Huanhan did not ask further. He nodded in excitement. He took a few deep breaths and began the next 2 steps. There was a bead of artifact spirit with some artifact spirits in it. Qian Huanhan first checked the inhibition formations in the prototype and then chose the most suitable artifact spirit to seal in. Usually, artifact spirits were the souls of wild beasts. The moment the beasts were killed, the bead of artifact spirit would be used to collect them. Or there were some strange spirits, demons, and other soul bodies in the world. Regular artifact spirits were not precious, but they were still worth a lot of divine sources. Therefore, forging artifacts was costly. To become a master craftsman, an artifact craftsman must consume many materials and artifact spirit. Often, the artifact craftsman would end up with useless product. Even if a master craftsman joined a small force, the artifact craftsman would not be able to afford to hire them. Perfect, after sealing the artifact spirit, Qian Huanhan took a closer look. He was even more excited. He was not in a hurry to proceed to the last step. He paced up and down for the time for 1 incense stick to burn before he started. There was nothing Lu Li could do to help with the stabilizer, so he could only watch from the side. He wasn't particularly worried. It was still early. Even if he failed, he would still have another chance. Qian Huanhan threw the tool embryo into the cauldron and began the last step of fixing the tool. He poured out divine energy skillfully. Lu Li nodded to himself. Qian Huanhan was experienced and his breaths were steady. If he failed, then it would be a matter of bad luck. After the time it took for 2 incense sticks to burn, the cauldron gradually calmed down. Qian Huanhan patted the cauldron and a divine sword flew out. It was covered with divine patterns and was shining brightly. Obviously, it was done. Whoosh! Qian Huanhan grabbed the relic and checked it carefully. He was delighted. He turned to Lu Li and grinned. Brother Li, this is perfect. This relic can be compared to a high-grade relic. Alright. Lu Li took over the relic and nodded with satisfaction. Given Qian Huanhan's abilities, he had done well this time. It would not be difficult for him to enter the inner city. Spirit gathering, vibrating, explosive spirit, fortitude and speed. The 5 formations are in harmony. If it were not for the fact that I am not good enough, this relic could be a high-grade relic. Qian Huanhan exclaimed as he took over the sword. Then, he gave Lu Li a thumbs up. Brother Li, you are a genius in forging artifacts. I think you will be the next relic master. Ha ha! Lu Li shook his head and said, Han, you cannot say that I am the one who built the formations. Remember this or you will get me into trouble. Do you understand? Why? Qian Huanhan was confused. Lu Li did not explain. He only told Qian Huanhan to remember. Qian Huanhan touched his head and did some tests to make sure that the sword was stable. Then, he left with Lu Li. There was a disciple of the craftsman's sect outside. Qian Huanhan handed over the relic. The disciple told them to wait while he went into an inner hall by himself. He handed over the relic to 2 deacons of the craftsman's sect to check. The first deacon tried to sense the relic. He did not think it was a high-grade relic. By the looks of it, it was only a low-grade relic. Clearly, a low-grade relic was not enough to enter the inner city. He took over the relic and used psychic power to check. His expression changed. Without any hesitation, he poured divine energy into the sword. Buzzing, the sword glowed. The formations on the sword glowed. The artifact's spirit was moving around in a frenzy. A suffocating energy came from the sword. Well, Brother Lu, this sword? The other deacon took a look. He was surprised. Brother Lu handed over the sword. Brother Yen, take a look at the formations in the sword. Brother Lu took over the sword and poured divine energy into it. Elder Yen took the long sword and infused his divine power into it. After sensing it for a while, a look of surprise also appeared on his face. He sighed and said, "It's actually a formation technique. I'm afraid even the great divine craftsmen don't know much about this, right?" "Yes." Brother Lu nodded. "The creator of this formation is the youngest son of the craftsman ancestor god. Over the past hundreds of thousands of years, fewer and fewer people can learn it. The most outstanding one is Grandmaster Tianlingzi from 100,000 years ago. I didn't expect that a disciple, someone who could not even forge a high-grade relic, could learn the formation. What a genius!" Brother Yan's eyes glowed. He asked the disciple in front of him, "Who made this relic? Who is his teacher?" The disciple looked through the information and reported, "It is a disciple of the Chamber of Relics. Well, it is Gu Shanha's personal student, Qian Huanhan." Gu Shanha? Old Yen and Old Lu looked at each other. Old Yen frowned and murmured doubtfully, "Gu Shanha's forging skills are not bad, but he doesn't walk the path of formations. Did he get the formation school and let his disciple learn it?" "Okay." Brother Lu waved his hand. "Qian Huanhan can go to the inner city now. Arrange for him to fight. Also, tell Patriarch Eagle that Qian Huanhan has learned the formation and he has mastered it perfectly. Tell Patriarch Eagle to pay attention to Qian Huanhan's fights. Tell him that this disciple is worth training." Patriarch Eagle? That disciple was surprised. He bowed and left. At first, he was a bit arrogant to Qian Huanhan and Lu Li. After he left, he calmed down and forced a smile, which confused Qian Huanhan. Buzzing, right at this moment, the door of a nearby room opened. Lady Dan walked out in a hurry with a red longbow in her hand. She shouted as soon as she walked out, "I made it! I made it! My divine bow is perfect! Give it to your steward for inspection." "What are you yelling about? Shut up! I will disqualify you if you keep yelling." The disciple of the craftsman's sect threw her a cold glance. Lady Dan's smile froze. The disciple turned around. He cupped his fists to Qian Huanhan and said, "Qian Huanhan, you have passed the test. You can go to the inner city now. Take this token. There will be a disciple outside that will take you to the inner city directly." Lady Dan finally saw that Qian Huanhan and Lu Li were standing behind that disciple. She was shocked. She stared at Qian Huanhan and Lu Li and said, How can you pass the test with your level of forging artifacts? Qian Huanhan smiled and ignored her. Lu Li was not in the mood either. That disciple, on the other hand, was annoyed by Lady Dan. He sneered and said, "That's it? Wait until you reach his level. He is praised as a genius by Master Yen." Lady Dan blinked. She stared at Qian Huanhan as if she did not know him. A genius in forging artifacts? If Qian Huanhan was a genius, then she would be a genius. Sister Dan, we will leave now. Chapter 13-16. Qian Huanhan left with Lu Li. Lady Dan's eyes were spitting fire. Still, she could not understand. Qian Huanhan had not been learning to forge artifacts for long. How could he be praised by someone from the craftsman's sect? He was a genius? One had to know that the craftsman's sect represented the pinnacle of blacksmithing in the immortal world. Everyone there was very arrogant and almost never praised anyone. Qian Huanhan and Lu Li walked out. They greeted patriarchally and showed their tokens to a disciple. The disciple hurriedly brought the two of them to a side hall. There was a teleportation array in the side hall that could teleport them to the inner city. The disciples of the Mountain Valley sect are quite skilled. Patriarchally shared the same expression as Lady Dan. As far as he could see, Qian Huanhan and Lu Li had no chance at all. Who would have thought that they would be the first to pass and enter the inner city? Before long, Miss Dan came out. She had passed the test and could enter the inner city. Miss Dan was a rare genius of the Chamber of Relics. It was easy for her to enter the inner city. If it weren't for the fact that he hadn't been learning refining for a long time and that his temperament wasn't steady enough, he would probably be able to shine in this battle. To Elder Li's surprise, both Long Yunhai and Long Wentian failed. Long Yunhai originally had a chance, but his luck was not very good. The divine weapon that he forged had some flaws. Later on, he wanted to reforge it but did not have enough time. Qian Huanhan and Lu Li have entered the city? When Long Yunhai and Long Wentian heard the news, they felt their cheeks burning. They were core disciples of the Artifact Pavilion, and they had been learning to forge artifacts since they were young. How could they lose to a disciple who had just joined the sect for a year? Elder Li waved his hand and said, "All of you stay at the inn. I will enter the inner city to report to Elder Long and Elder Gu." Looking at Elder Li's back, Long Yunhai and Long Wentian felt dejected. They had been looking forward to this competition, but now they just wanted it to end as soon as possible. Because every time they stood there, the two of them felt like they were being silently humiliated. How lively! Lu Li and Qian Huanhan were teleported to the inner city, which was like a paradise. The scenery here was picturesque, unlike the castles outside. On the contrary, there were flowers and trees everywhere. Flowers were blooming everywhere, and there were even a few man-made rivers flowing quietly. It was very lively inside with pedestrians walking back and forth. Everyone was immaculately dressed, wearing embroidered robes and jade robes. Their bearing was extraordinary. The two of them were led by the disciple. Qian Huanhan's eyes were wide open. He had seen at least a dozen top-notch beauties along the way. After walking through several roads, the two of them were brought to a beautiful manor. The disciple politely said, "This is the place where the elders of your sect live. You can go in and settle down first. Tomorrow, the 10,000 craftsman competition will officially begin. We'll inform you when the time comes." "Thank you, Senior." Lu Li and Qian Huanhan thanked him and walked into the yard. Several psychic powers came out immediately. Then, Elder Gu appeared at the door. Surprise appeared on his old-fashioned face, but it quickly turned into pride. He nodded and said, "Not bad, Qian Huanhan. You didn't let me down." Long Xuesha and the other two elders walked out and looked at Qian Huanhan in bewilderment. Long Xuesha didn't say anything, but the other two elders exclaimed in admiration, "Not bad. Shanhe, your disciples are top-notch. How long has it been since Qian Huanhan joined the Chamber of Artifacts? You can actually enter the inner city. Congratulations." Ha ha! Elder Gu stroked the sparse beard on his chin and said disapprovingly, "It's just that this child is a little smart and hard-working. I didn't teach him too much. I just passed on some of my knowledge." Patriarch Gu was trying to show off, but he turned to Lu Li with suspicion. He knew Qian Huanhan's capability very well. There was no way Qian Huanhan could enter the inner city. Then, the problem lay with Lu Li. Go and have some rest. Don't be arrogant or impatient. Patriarch Gu waved his hand after a glance. You can wander around at night, but do not make any trouble. Come back and tell us if you need anything. Do you understand? Qian Huanhan and Lu Li answered at once. They went to a room. Qian Huanhan was excited. He paced up and down in the room. He had been in the limelight today, and he was feeling pleased. Brother Li, you are impressive. Qian Huanhan activated the inhibition formation. He was about to say something when Lu Li waved him to keep quiet. There were many powerful warriors in the inner city and many masters of inhibition formations. Who could tell if someone was eavesdropping? On the off chance that Long Xuesha was, neither of them could tell. Here I am. Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and took a deep breath. He no longer cared about the competition of craftsmen. He would not take any actions. After all, the Chamber of Relics did not have high hopes for them. His main purpose in coming here, to find that Lu Ling and see if she was his sister. He sat with his legs crossed and thought for a while, feeling worried. Even though it was an inner city, it was a large one with manners everywhere. Who knew where Lu Ling was staying? Should he go to the craftsman's sect and ask? Even if he did, could he go in? Right, Holy Princess and Lu Shi. Lu Li thought of the two. They were the only ones who could get in touch with Lu Ling. Even if Lady Dan wanted to see Lu Ling, it would not be possible. I will go and see Lu Shi tonight. Lu Li made up his mind. He chatted with Qian Huanhan for a while, and then sat down to rest. When the night fell and the moon rose, Lu Li and Qian Huanhan set off. There was only one patriarch outside. Neither Long Xuesha nor Patriarch Gu was here. They must be attending to business or attending a banquet. That patriarch said something to Lu Li and Qian Huanhan before they came out. As soon as Qian Huanhan came out, he looked around and glanced at the girls. Brother Li, where are we going? Seeing Lu Li walking straight ahead, Qian Huanhan asked in confusion. Then, Qian Huanhan saw many pretty girls sitting in a tavern in the distance. His eyes glowed and he said, Brother Li, there are so many pretty girls over there. Shall we go and have a drink? I have something to do. Lu Li stopped and said, How about you go and have a drink by yourself? I will come and find you when I am done. Never mind. I will go with you, Brother Li. Qian Huanhan shook his head and said in frustration, We have no fame, no status, and no ability. Even if we go there, those pretty girls won't talk to us. All you think about is pretty girls. Lu Li rolled his eyes. He saw a disciple of the craftsman's sect and went over to ask. After learning where Lu Shi was, Lu Li and Qian Huanhan hurried over. At the gate there were guards. They must be from the pavilion of Misty Drizzle. Lu Li asked the guard to report in. Soon, they heard a hearty laugh. Lu Shi walked out in strides. He put his arm around Lu Li's shoulder and walked inside while saying, Brother Lu, you are just in time. I am entertaining some young masters and young ladies from famous families. I can introduce you to them. Let me tell you, Lady Luan, number 16 on the list of beautiful ladies, and Lady Yu, number 24, are both here. Wow, Qian Huanhan, who was following Lu Li, was like a hungry wolf seeing a lamb. His eyes glowed. Just now, he was frustrated that he could not get close to those pretty girls. Now, he could meet one of the top beauties on the list of beautiful ladies. Chapter 13-17. Qian Huanhan was tempted, but Lu Li was troubled. He was not here to attend some so-called banquet. He could not be too high-profile, or else he would lose his chance if the palace of evil spirit noticed him. He had promised Patriarch Gu that he would avenge him, and he had always kept his promise. What was more, Patriarch Gu had been treating Lu Li well, and he treated Lu Li like his own son. Lu Li was touched, and he made up his mind to avenge Patriarch Gu. The young master of the Palace of Evil Spirit and Chou Qianjuan's great-grandpa was a patriarch of the Spacetime Office. It would be difficult for Lu Li to kill Chou Qianjun. If the Palace of Evil Spirit noticed him in advance, Lu Li would lose his chance, just like Patriarch Gu. Therefore, Lu Li must keep a low profile. He refused without hesitation. "Brother Shi, just let Qian Huanhan in. I have something to discuss with you. I will not go to the banquet." "Are you sure?" Lu Shi was surprised. Many people would try their best to approach young masters and young ladies from prestigious families. Why was Lu Li not interested? Was Lu Li from a prestigious family as well? Or was he not into pretty girls? Lu Li nodded with determination. Lu Shi waved to a disciple of the Pavilion of Misty Drizzle and asked him to bring Qian Huanhan in while Lu Shi showed Lu Li to a small pavilion nearby. Inside the pavilion, Lu Shi activated the inhibition formation. He poured Lu Li a cup of tea and said, "What is it? Just say it." Lu Li stood up and cupped his fist. "Brother Shi, I haven't thanked you enough for helping me out last time. I am ashamed that I have to trouble you again." Lu Shi pulled a long face. He glared at Lu Li and said, "If you keep this up, I will see you out." "Ha ha ha!" Lu Li grinned. He cut to the chase and asked, "Brother Shi, do you know the talents on the list? Isn't that obvious?" Lu Shi rolled his eyes. "I am still on the list. But I am ashamed to say that I am in the 80s. The Cabinet of Mystery releases a list every 3 years. The Divinity list, the Beauty list, and the Genius list are the most valued." Lu Li was excited. "Do you know Lu Ling, the number 2 on the list?" "Lu Ling?" Lu Shi was confused. He shook his head and said, "I don't have any information about her. I only know that she is a woman. Furthermore, she wasn't even on the beauty list. Was it because she wasn't beautiful enough or because she didn't want to be on the beauty list? In any case, this person is very mysterious. Our Misty Rain Pavilion does not have any detailed information on her." "Are you sure it's a woman?" Lu Li was a bit excited. He had a feeling that this Lu Ling might be his sister. He suddenly stood up and said, "Brother 12, this Lu Ling has come to the City of Divinity. Can you take me to see her? You only need to see him from afar. You don't have to worry about anything else. Please, this is very important to me." "This is a little difficult," Lu Shi thought for a moment with his eyebrows knitted together. He stood up and said, "Sit here. I will go and see if I can meet her. Saintess Shui is inside. I'll ask her if she has any ideas." "All right." Lu Li nodded and watched as Lu Shi left. Then, he paced up and down in the room nervously. If he could meet that Lu Ling and make sure that she was his sister, everything would be worth it. Time moved on. Lu Li was getting more and more impatient. Lu Shi had been gone for over 2 hours. Why hadn't he come back? Lu Li's heart was hanging in the air. If there was a way, Lu Shi would have come back by now. After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, Lu Shi finally hurried in. Lu Li's heart skipped a beat when he saw his expression. As Lu Li had expected, Lu Shi shook his head and said, "Lu Ling is here. But the force behind her is powerful. She is living in the manor in the backyard. Holy Princess and I cannot go there unless my grandpa or master of the Palace of Snow Mountain comes in person. It is a pity that my grandpa and master of Snow Mountain are not here." Luli blinked and asked, "Is there no other way? Is it so hard to meet her?" "There is a way," Lu Shur said. "Tomorrow is the competition of craftsmen. If you can make it to the semifinals, you will have a chance to go to the Fort of Divinity. By then, many important people will be there. Maybe that Lu Ling will come. You will have a chance to meet her." Semifinals. Luli felt troubled. Both he and Qian Huanhan were not skilled enough. Luli had not even made a relic. How could he make it to the semifinals? The competition of craftsmen was the grandest event for craftsmen in the Divinity. There must be many powerful warriors there. What was more, he did not want to take part in the competition at all because he could easily expose something, such as Tian Lingzi's book collection or Bloodvine. Not even the Chamber of Relics could protect him if some important people coveted his book collection. Also, who could guarantee that the big shots in the Chamber of Relics would not be interested in Tian Lingzi's book collection? Luli thought about it and asked, "Is there really no other way? How about I wait outside the City of Craftsmen? She has to go back, right?" "Yes, she has to go back." Lu Shur forced a smile. "But you will not be able to meet her. Since she is from a big force, I think she will teleport away from the inner city." "Alas!" Luli rubbed his forehead. "Is it easy to make it to the semifinals?" "Yes," Lu Shur patted Luli's shoulder. "Usually, there will be at least 1,000 participants in the competition. But only 10 of them can make it to the semifinals. That being said, the Craftsman's sect will reward you handsomely after you make it to the semifinals. You will be sought after by many forces. You will be famous in the Divinity. Brother Lu, don't push yourself. Just try your best. You will have more chances to meet Lu Ling in the future." "I understand." Luli made up his mind. He would go to the competition tomorrow and try his best to make it to the semifinals. After all, on the surface, he was Qian Huanhan's servant and Qian Huanhan would be responsible for everything. Even if there were patriarchs of the craftsmen's sect watching the preliminary round, there were so many participants. As long as he was careful, he would not be noticed. As long as he could make it to the semifinals, he would not have to do anything other than meet Lu Ling, okay? "Thank you, Brother Shur. Tomorrow I will go to the competition and try my best." Luli cupped his fists and left to get ready. Out of curiosity, Lu Shur asked, "Brother Lu, is Lu Ling very important to you?" Luli thought about it and nodded. "If she is the one I am looking for, then she must be very important, more important than my life. I wish you good luck tomorrow and that you can make it to the semi-finals." Lu Shur patted Luli's shoulder and walked out with him. Luli did not go into the hall. He waited for Qian Huanhan outside. Back at the Heaven Reverse Universe, he hated this kind of banquet. Now, he was not in the mood to meet the so-called beauties on the list. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A moment later, Qian Huanhan came out. He was supported by someone. His face was burning and his eyes were blurred. He was shaking and his legs were weak. Clearly, he was drunk. "I'm not drunk, I can still drink. Even if Miss Cheese Toast is poison, I will still drink it, not to mention wine," Qian Huanhan murmured as he was supported. Luli shook his head. This guy must have seen too many beauties and could not control himself. He must have gotten himself drunk. When Qian Huanhan was next to Luli, he lost his strength. He threw himself at Luli and hugged him. He looked at Luli with fascination and said, "Lady Qi, you are so beautiful. You are like the moon in the sky." Slap, Luli punched him in his abdomen to wake him up. Qian Huanhan's armor of cold did not come out. He was in so much pain that he bent over like a shrimp. Chapter 13-18. Back at his own manor, Lu Li made Qian Huanhan a cup of strong tea. Qian Huanhan felt much more refreshed after drinking it. Well, what is it? Seeing that Lu Li was sitting there emotionlessly, Qian Huanhan scratched his head in embarrassment. Brother Li, did I drink too much? Did you do anything too embarrassing just now? Lu Li rolled his eyes. I don't know how you embarrassed yourself at the banquet. In any case, you've already been very embarrassed after coming out. I almost left you behind just now because standing with you is very embarrassing for me. Well, well, Qian Huanhan touched his burning cheeks and said in annoyance, I made Lady Dan mad. She provoked me at the banquet and encouraged a young Lady Qi to have a drinking contest with me. Lu Shi wine is very good. I felt delirious after one jar. That young Lady Qi is a good drinker. She is still calm after one jar. Idiot, you have been fooled. Lu Li was speechless. Qian Huanhan did not seem to have an EQ. How could he not see through such a simple trick? That young Lady Qi must have done something. Qian Huanhan was so silly that he fell into the trap. Maybe it was Lady Dan's plan to humiliate Qian Huanhan. Fooled? Qian Huanhan walked around for a while. It is possible. Lady Dan and young Lady Qi were flirting with each other. I think they were whispering to each other for a while. No. Qian Huanhan slammed the table. I must get back at them. I must have been humiliated. Damn it. My reputation is ruined just like this. You're not wise at all. Lu Li sighed. All right. Don't think about it. I will help you when there is a chance. Now, let's talk about the competition between craftsmen. Competition? What kind of competition? Qian Huanhan blinked his eyes in confusion. Then he smiled bitterly and said, Brother Li, forget it. I've already embarrassed myself enough today. I don't want to embarrass myself tomorrow. Although yours is very powerful, there are many experts this time. Our meager strength is still not enough. Do you want to be famous? Lu Li stared at Qian Huanhan and said, Do you want to be famous? Do you want countless beautiful ladies to adore you? Do you want the ladies on the beauty list to look at you in a different light? Do you want to go back to the artifact pavilion and bully Miss Dan? Do you want to vent your anger? Lu Li's words excited Qian Huanhan. All the tipsiness was gone. His eyes glowed as he said, Yes, of course. Brother Li, I'll listen to you. I'll do whatever you say. All right then. Lu Li nodded and whispered to Qian Huanhan. Qian Huanhan nodded like a chick pecking at grains, acting as if Lu Li was the leader. At daybreak the next day, Qian Huanhan and Lu Li left. They went to Patriarch Gu and asked to join the tournament. Patriarch Gu knew Qian Huanhan's capabilities very well. Seeing Lu Li winking at him, Patriarch Gu knew it was Lu Li's idea. Patriarch Gu did not understand why Lu Li had to be so high-profile. Since it was Lu Li's request, Patriarch Gu did not ask too many questions. He nodded and asked Patriarch Li to make the arrangements. Needless to say, Lady Dan had requested to go to the tournament. The patriarchs did not stop her. After all, Lady Dan was talented in forging artifacts. It would be beneficial for her to take part in such tournaments. Patriarch Li went to the craftsman's sect to make the arrangements. An hour later, he came back to inform everyone that they could go. Dragon Xuesha was not interested in the tournament. However, since Qian Huanhan had entered the inner city and was going to the tournament, Dragon Xuesha's interest was piqued. He wanted to go and watch. Several patriarchs showed Lady Dan, Qian Huanhan, and Lu Li to a plaza in the inner city. There would be over 1,000 participants in the tournament. Usually, a hall would not be able to accommodate all of them. Craftsman's sect would always choose to hold the tournament in the plaza. Qian Huanhan, you disgraced the Chamber of Relics yesterday. Lady Dan approached Qian Huanhan and said with mockery. Qian Huanhan was frightened, but he did not lose his temper. After all, Dragon Xuesha and the patriarchs were in front of him. Lady Dan was even more proud of Qian Huanhan's silence. She threw a glance at Luli and snorted. How can people like you go to the tournament? Do you think the Chamber of Relics has not been disgraced enough? Luli said nothing. Qian Huanhan wanted to argue, but Luli winked at him. Qian Huanhan pretended that he did not hear anything. When they arrived at the plaza, Luli took a look from the distance. He was relieved. There were many small black towers in the plaza. Clearly, they were there for people to forge artifacts. What worried Luli the most was that someone would find out that he was helping Qian Huanhan forge artifacts. What if he used the wicked bead or bloodvine, and someone with ulterior motives would target him? The consequences would be dire. Patriarch Gu noticed Luli's expression from the corner of his eyes. He said, Luli, do what you can. Nobody in the Tower of Relics can spy on you. This is the rule of the past generations. After all, everyone has their own unique skills. The Tower of Relics is built to protect the participants' secret skills, so that they will not be disturbed. Luli could put his mind at ease. Patriarch Gu added, but there is one thing you must remember. You can only use the materials in the Tower of Artifact. If you use your own materials, you will be found out and you will be accused of cheating. Luli nodded. They stepped into the plaza. The plaza was surrounded by auditorium seats. Many had already taken their seat. As far as the eye could see, there were at least tens of thousands of people here. Luli stood behind Qian Huanhan, keeping a low profile. He was wearing a cyan robe and had restrained his energy. He seemed to be nervous. He was pretending to be a servant. Lu Shi-er and Holy Princess are here. He took a quick glance and noticed Lu Shi-er and Holy Princess. They looked at each other and communicated with each other through their eyes. Neither of them seemed to be in a strange mood. Many warriors were standing in the plaza. All of them were stronger than prefecture warriors. The immortals on the list were everywhere. The auditorium seats were packed with powerful warriors. Many mighty warriors from the divinity were here. Dozens of super mighty warriors like Dragon Xueshao were here as well. Qian Huanhan, you are at number 370. Jiang Ruodan, you are at number 371. A chief steward came and gave Qian Huanhan a token. Qian Huanhan showed Luli to a tower of relic. Luli pretended to be low-key. He looked tense, like a bumpkin that had never seen the world. He had been observing secretly, trying to find the person that haunted his dreams. Unfortunately, Luli took a look at the tens of thousands of people at the plaza. He did not see that familiar person. He was a bit disappointed. Standing by tower number 370, Luli and Qian Huanhan waited quietly. Jiang Ruodan had been looking at them with mockery. Every now and then, she would look at Lu Shi-er who was in the auditorium. When Lu Shi-er looked at her, she would turn away as if nothing had happened. Lady Dan, you have no chance. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.